Hallelujah. Welcome into a Tuesday evening blend with Matthew Batson. I'm Pop Blender, and that is one jacked up figure. Is
Man,
that a
there's
Conan exclusive? What is that?
well, not an exclusive, but no, yeah, I mean, with all the Conan Frazetta stuff that's going on right now, I mean, this guy's still my favorite until I get these other ones that everybody's got rocking and rolling. But this is Mezco Conan 2, the Destroyer. I also have Conan the Barbarian, which was their first one, or this Conan the Conqueror. I'd love to get the King Conan, but then I've got all these other ones, so we'll see.
Oh, I have a feeling it'll be added to your collection at some point in time. Are they all Mezco?
So those three are Mezco, and then Mythic Legions has the legendary Barbarian, which I may have a friend picking one up for me this weekend at Toylanta because
Nice.
he's an exclusive, and it will only be at shows until probably the end of the year or something. And then there's the Frazetta Girls Conan, and then there's the Frazetta Museum, Frankie Frazetta Jr.'s Death Dealer from Savage Crucible.
Oh,
So
yeah. Yep.
and then they also have their Ball and Chain, which it should be coming soon, because of the human wave, the Who Man wave that they have going on.
Well, and I'll tell you, you talk to most guys, and their ball and chain ain't coming anytime soon, from what I understand. But listen, hey, let's get the show started.
Three
uh,
star. That's from the Barbarian accessory pack. Also, where you can swap out the heads for the Mezco Conans. That one.
that's pretty sweet, buddy. You always bring something new to the intro, and I know you definitely dig the Conan. That's for sure.
Yeah, I just
Um,
I had to pick something that I've been playing with lately. So
um, I'm sure a lot of new photos. Yeah. And then I came across the collab the other day. Was it a comic book cover collab maybe
uh,
on Instagram?
which one?
Man, I can't remember. It was a few days
What
ago when I was flipping through Instagram, and
it was?
it
It
was
was on
somewhat.
mine.
I think it was you were included in it,
Okay.
but I think it was a multiple
Yeah. Well,
people.
yeah. So I do collab several times a week. And so my Sunday collab, we've run out of file card themes until new characters get released and in hand.
Okay,
Until people actually get dial tone, we can't do a dial tone file card. So he was looking for ideas, and so last week's theme was Danger Zone. So everything had to
that's
be
it. Yes.
applied to the song Danger Zone,
Yep.
Kenny Loggins. And so I did a composite photo with the Dragonfly and the Robo Skull, um, kind of checking each other out, getting ready for some aerial combat.
That was exactly it. And
Yeah.
yeah, it was the danger zone. So yeah, I'm sure most everybody in here has seen those. If you haven't, go check them out. Mamu's action figure blog on Instagram.
Yep.
Um,
On tomorrow, we've got a heavy hitters GI Joe collab photo coming out, and you'll guys will like that one too. There's some interesting choices for the heavy hitters.
so I won't spend too much time on it. But you had mentioned trying to we were when Three Star and I last Wednesday were showing off our favorite comic book covers.
Oh yeah.
And you were talking about one that is hard to recreate with the train, and it's
Yeah.
Storm Shadow kicking Snake Eyes out of the train,
Yep.
Dragonflies in the background. And you were talking about the buildings and trying to figure out how you could never get the buildings right. It's because the angles are not actual proper angles, right? Like they're so
Right.
extreme and wacko. I don't know how you would
Yeah.
even go
It's
about trying to do that.
it's a distorted, not even isometric, but it is a distorted view, right? It's to
Yeah.
create that drama effect. So there's some scaling and some weird stuff going on there.
Yeah.
There's one creator that what 6 months ago did an amazing version of it, and I've got half the pieces I need for it. I just need something to stand in for those buildings, even if it
Right.
doesn't look quite right. But I can work the rest of it out. I just need the time to do it, and I haven't had the time to set all that up.
Yeah.
Because
No.
it takes so much to do all the
I bet.
setup for everything.
I bet it does. Well, let's jump into to the chat real quick. Just say hey to everybody that's rolling in. Daredevil Dave was first in the house here,
Or
and
is he still here though? Did he come back?
he
he was there like an hour early.
I was gonna say he was super early. It was like 7:39 Central anyway. But anyway, and so I don't know. He'll probably pop back in and out. He might be bouncing around as everybody usually does at some point in time. Joe Fan 84 in the house. Tony's Figs is here as well. Let's see. Where's he at? Where's he at?
What
There he
Tony?
is.
What was that mess of a stream that you guys you baldies did earlier, man?
Oh,
All you
what
bald guys.
happened? What
I don't know.
happened?
It just like fell apart, man. I don't. It's like they couldn't figure out StreamYard and presenting and slides, and I don't know.
I
I
just
had to turn it
figured
off.
that
It got weird, man.
I thought Baldy's mom came home. I figured that's
Well,
what happened.
well,
You know,
so Terry had to leave early. He generally bounces a little early, and then when Baldy's mom comes home, he just clicks a button and the
it
stream's
sits out.
over.
Oh yeah,
So
no, it's there's no hey thanks guys. It's like see ya.
yeah.
It's like opening the door and sneaking out real quick when somebody's parents come home and you're hanging out with your girlfriend, right? 3-star draw is here as well. Turk Murphy's Toy Solutions in the house. Loves mules. My sis, what's up? Hanging out, probably probably heading into work, or maybe she's already there. We shall see. Now, I wanted to get your quick comments on the most recent episode 5 of Daredevil. Now, I am caught up to tonight. However, I did take a little nap to get ready for tonight, kind of rest up. And as we say, hey to Viper Scout, I wanted to get your take on episode 5 without spoilers per se. But did what we heard is that episode 5, the first 4 episodes were kind of a slow burn. Episode 5, things start to change, and that's where a lot of people are going to fall into the fold and actually really start to like it or
Yeah.
really get into it. Is that the case?
Yeah. So I have to say, if they started the series here, it would be a lot more interesting.
Okay.
I still have a lot of problems with all the stuff that's going on and things like that, but a lot of people are going to love this episode. This was an engaging one for the most part. It was action packed. They went. I mean, they've been hinting through this from the beginning of the series. They're doing Boondock Saints, right? And so they're doing the interviews with people on the side. They're doing the intercuts. They're doing editing. I mean, they're trying to copy Boondock Saints, and this is full on copying Boondock Saints. This episode should have
Okay.
aired last week because it is a St. Patrick's Day episode, and it has to do with the bank robbery. And the lead bank robber, when you see his mask off, he looks like a young Colin Farrell. And you have the Irishmen who are robbing the bank, and
That's interesting.
Murdoch has to stop him. And the assistant manager of the bank is Kamala Khan's father. So Miss
Yeah.
Marvel's father from the TV show. So stuff plays out, and it's real interesting. And you can see that this is leading up to him putting the costume on next episode, which that's what is going to happen. I knew that from the beginning. The next episode is also where the majority of the writing will change. So this is where they have the new writers, the post-strike writers, instead of the pre-strike writers. And so
Okay.
you're going to see more of that than the old footage. So this is that demarcation point here.
Okay.
So
Overall, for you, I mean, I know you and I have talked about some of the issues we have with the show, but
Yeah,
overall, does it seem like what will carry into the final few episodes, right? It's
yeah,
got 9 episodes for this season, 2 9-episode seasons. So that's maybe going to carry us the rest of the way. I'm going to dig into it tonight when we get done, and I'll let you know
yeah.
my thoughts probably tomorrow.
I actually want to see the next episode now, and that's why
Wait, that's
they double
great.
packed them, right?
Okay.
And
Yeah.
so this is I would give this episode probably a 7.5 out of 10.
Okay.
And if you guys understand my ratings, you know that that means that it's pretty good, right?
I mean, I think a lot of people misconstrue because they've read or watched a lot of IGN content,
Yeah.
and they give a
Well,
7 to everything. It's become a meme, right? The IGN 7 out of 10.
yeah,
But no, that like it's number one. A 10 has to be like master class
yeah,
level, right?
yep,
A 9 basically is almost there. So, your 7.5, your 8 range means that, it's a good episode or a good show, a good movie, worth your time,
yep.
right? Definitely worth your time. And so that's good. That's good to hear. I haven't seen it yet. Haven't, like I said, I was taking a little nap, so
Yeah,
I'll
yeah.
check it out a
So
little bit and
there
let you know.
there was no kingpin, no girl bosses, no therapy sessions, no whining and crying about things.
Yeah.
There was some there are some social commentary things that happen in there, but
Is that the
it
BB
doesn't.
stuff? Is that those are the BB interviews? I know some of those tend to sway in that
No,
direction.
they're not in there.
Okay,
Not in this part. But there's some social commentary stuff that's going on there, and then making fun of the Irish a little bit, and things like that. But I mean, like I said, 7.5 out of 10.
yeah.
It's worth a watch. 3 star. You're gonna love this one. So
Well, and he was actually working on a review that he had to end up scrapping.
mm,
Uh, you know, I can only imagine that feeling. Now, I have not gone through a whole one. I've tried multiple takes, and I ended up not being happy at all. And so, I don't know what it's like to maybe do a full one and spend 3 hours or 2 hours, and then just not be happy at
scrapping it.
all, and just
Yeah. No.
delete it.
Yeah.
Um, Sometimes it hurts when you hit that delete button, or maybe you give up, and then sometimes it's just for the best. Like,
Yeah.
sometimes it's just not your best take or your best review, and so that sucks, man. I hope you didn't put too much time into it. Jay Astro said I'd be okay if they moved on from Kingpin for a while. There's a lot of other Daredevil villains, right?
Well,
Yeah,
yeah. Yeah. Exactly.
definitely. And they'll
And
get into Punisher
this one
territory too.
may be setting up a new bad guy, or maybe it's tied into everything else. I don't know, but they're looking.
You
He's
talking about the Muse villain
so no.
or
I mean,
another villain?
I I don't know.
Okay, that's
a
cool.
it's a boss that is not shown,
Okay,
not revealed. But there are sergeants and lieutenants that are getting you towards the fact that there's a boss.
gotcha,
And so there may
gotcha.
be a third party or a fourth party player coming into it.
Someone pulling some strings that
Right.
that we
Or
don't
it could
quite
be
know
one of the
yet.
people we already know, just not revealed yet. I don't know.
Do you think that it could be Kang?
No, definitely not.
He who remains. Fucking stupid shit. Yeah.
In
Uh
jail.
yeah. Oh yeah. Well, I don't know.
Or the doghouse.
After the tapes released.
Yeah.
Yeah, so 3 star says I can do without emo Kingpin. I haven't liked that take on him from the start. I
Yep.
agree. I'm not a
Yeah.
fan of this like down in the dumps cuck Kingpin.
Well, I
And
mean,
he
if you
actually really
follow
does like Kingpin a lot.
if you follow the Hawkeye and Echo series, that's who Kingpin
Oh,
is.
yeah, it's hard to follow those though.
Yeah.
Those are
Yeah.
just brutally bad.
Yeah.
So look, I've got some fun stuff.
Awesome.
Obviously, we usually always start out with a little current box office, and that
Whew,
uh,
we got some yeah, fun stuff. Exactly.
that ties in, and I have a nice Matthew. You don't know about this. I have a really nice put together of Instagram reels, I guess, or Instagram of Rachel Zegler's dumbest shit that
Oh
she said.
man. Yeah.
And the reason I'm going to tie that in
Epic.
is because
Epic.
we're gonna talk about and
So
it,
I had
regarding box office, but we do have some other news as well.
I
So
Carson Metaxas, he's not in the loop on this kind of stuff. And he's like, "What's all this discussion about? I just keep hearing these people, or these racists or whatever, talking about it.
oh
What
God,
happened? What's going on with this movie?" And then I laid it out succinctly and logically, and I said it has very little to do with racism,
yeah,
other than the fact that the description of Snow White cannot be met by this actress in many levels, but that's
right.
not the point. It could be a point, but it's not the main point. The main point is that the disastrous PR campaign that she launched on the world.
That's been the biggest part of it. Now the
Yeah.
film doesn't do itself any favors, but that's been the biggest part of the Snow White disaster. And I've got a good little compilation, and
Hey,
we'll watch some of
it
those.
was the number one movie of the week.
Okay,
It was the
yes.
only one
Yep.
released this week.
You are 100% correct. It happens to be as we look at the weekend domestic chart for March 21st. It released. It was the number one movie of the week, and pretty much the only. There was maybe a couple others, but by no means we're going to actually really do
Yeah.
much. Anyway, yeah, so after one weekend release, we've got a total gross of 42 million. Now that this is in the US and this is domestic, okay? This isn't domestic and
Well,
international.
it's international is not very good either.
It's no, it's roughly about the same. It didn't
Yeah.
clear 100 million
What was
and I
it,
heard
87, 87, 86? It was projected. They kept lowering projections, then they projected 87, then it hit 86, and they're
yes,
like, they
yes.
even failed those projections.
It's sitting at 42 million now. Probably maybe a little different, obviously, after today. But I did hear an interesting stat earlier. I think on the real BBC, it was either Nerdrotic or I can't remember, or Mahler, one of the three, but said that have we had a box office weekend this year, an opening where anything hit over 100 million? Like a combination of
I,
movies have gone over $100 million as an opening weekend.
not
I don't know that we've
not
had one
multiples.
yet. Yeah, I don't think we've had $100 million opening weekend from multiple films, and even possibly from
I
even
don't
a single film this year, if we're
I don't
looking at
know that
actually
we've
what's come out.
right. I don't know that we've had $100 million opening weekend for any film
I
this
don't.
year.
We haven't. And
But what was
for
Captain America's
for
opening weekend?
what they it
That
was
was it?
what were they talking about, like 80 or something
Well,
like
so
that?
that's what I was
90.
wondering. I mean, was that? Yeah, I'm not sure. I've forgotten what
It
that was. I don't
but
know that it broke
combined
100 combined, maybe, but
maybe, but it's
US
maybe have
no.
been maybe one
Yeah,
that we've had where multiple films
yeah,
released have actually combined to break 100 million. And of course, yes, we are almost into April, but still, that's and it is a dead time for theaters. It's where they dump the crappy movies, right? Which is interesting because Snow White is dumped in March. But anyway,
yeah,
uh,
right.
yeah, Black Bag, Captain America, Brave New World is at number three, and is the number of theaters that it's in has dropped. It's 350. Um, is the you see that negative number right there? Negative 350. So it's been
Yeah.
taken out already of 350 theaters. Novocaine, which is definitely gonna lose money. Mickey 17.
So Captain America for opening weekend was 88.5 million.
Okay, yeah, right at 90.
Yeah. So yeah, this Snow White wasn't even that good. So
Oh no, yeah, this is actually one of the worst openings for the Disney
live
remakes.
action. Yeah.
Uh-huh. let's see, The Day the Earth Blew Up, which is a Looney Tunes movie.
I heard that was really good. I kind of want to see
Well,
it.
I did, and I have some Looney Tunes news for those who care
Oh
here in a
yeah,
little
no,
bit.
I
I
heard that
do.
too. I
Uh-huh.
heard that too.
The Monkey. I know one of Three Star Draw's favorite movies he hasn't seen yet is The Monkey. Dog Man, Captain Underpants ish movie,
Yeah.
and The Last Supper pretty much rounds out like the top 10 ultimately when it's all said and done. But yes, Snow White. Now, like I said, I've got a little compilation, so we're gonna get into that. We're gonna let you guys know how and why this movie failed. We're gonna give you
Yeah.
a little bit of a compilation of the actress and some of the dumb things she said, and I'm gonna tell you folks,
The dumb
when
dumb.
when I went on Twitter to do some searching and some digging, I in the search bar I typed in stupid things Rachel Zegler has said, and won't you know that a panel of a compilation of videos came up called "Stupid Things Rachel Zegler Has Said."
Well, I
I
think
I
Larry
almost
Kindle
fell out of
did
my
did one of those
chair.
compilations.
Very, very well may have. Now, I did quickly want to include this story because we've been talking about Superman coming up in
Oh yeah, yeah.
July,
Yep.
and so you sent this to me and presented this to me, and so evidently we've got a new calling for a boycott of the new Superman movie on July 11th. Now, do you know? You had mentioned maybe to me that this was some of the Snyder
No, yeah.
fans,
So
or is it what is
yeah,
this?
no, this is a Snyder cut or Snyder fan boycott campaign, and they think that they still have so much power. They got the Snyder cut released, so they think that they still have enough sway with Warner Brothers to say if we're going to boycott this movie, it's going to tank, and you better make us happy by bringing Zack Snyder back. And nobody really wants that. He had an idea, a plan for what he wanted to do, but if you look at his movies that he's made recently on his own without controls or restrictions, they're not good.
Yeah, I agree.
So you don't want him back in charge because he failed the DCU to begin with, and you may have loved it, and I appreciate that. And the Snyder Cut is the better cut of the Justice League film, in my opinion. Um, but you don't have as much sway as you used to because the Snyder Cut was released, and most of the Snyder Cut backing people only cared about that. They wanted to
Well,
see what was done, what his vision that he had made compared to the abomination that was thrown together, slapped together, and presented. So yeah,
yeah, I'm just trying to figure out what was the best Snyder movie. Was it
300.
300?
Yeah,
Yeah, 300. After that, it's a real piss poor list to be quite honest with you. In
I,
my opinion.
I mean he's got his thing, and while I appreciate it, I think that the 300 was probably his best.
So looking at this kind of breakdown right here that Google gave me, it says
There you go.
here's a breakdown. Matt Kadish, who I know who that is,
Yep.
he's on Twitter X. He said he reported Snyder Bros are calling for a boycott of the upcoming Superman movie. The quote Cinehouse is mentioned in the report, suggesting that Snyder Bros are using this as a rallying cry or a platform. Love the word platform for their
Platform.
message. This call for boycott is likely related to the ongoing fan debate surrounding the future of the DC universe, with some fans advocating for Zack Snyder's return. Uh, and they are very vocal. They absolutely are.
Yeah. Yeah.
They are huge fans of him and what his style is, and ultimate slow motion, right? And Jay Astro chimes in with Dawn of the Dead as far
I
as maybe one of
I disagree because
his
that was his.
best.
I no, I have to heartily disagree with that. That was his cracked lens days when he had to film with a cracked lens because he thought it was so artistic. No,
That's right. Oh yeah.
it's going to be between Watchmen and 300 for me. And
So
I love the director's extended cut of Watchmen. It is what it is, and 300 I think is his most popular, his
I,
best. But
I did like Watchmen. I know there's not a lot of us, but I thought Watchmen was pretty good. And
yeah,
300, yeah, that was fun. But I will say, I did enjoy Dawn of the Dead.
Okay.
Now, I don't know that it's one of his best films per se, at least
Right.
for me. But I actually did enjoy it. I enjoyed it so much so that I bought a pirated DVD that a server used to burn at the Fridays I worked at and sell them every Wednesday. And after DVD Day, he would get all the new stuff and then he would burn them and he'd bring them to work and sell them. So I think I have a copy of that for like $4, and and it was good. But yeah, I thought it was fine, and I'm with you, J Astro, on the Snow White. It is one of those things about like who cares about Snow White anymore. Um, I would say people would care about Snow White if you followed the source material or you followed the
Agreed.
original movie, and
Absolutely.
and you did what's called like just a real true to that movie remake.
Yeah.
And instead of trying to branch out and do your own thing and make it a new modern audience story, which is what this movie was, they're chasing an audience that doesn't exist.
Yeah.
But I do love this one, Matthew. It looks like Jay Astro's coming at you with a diss track. And is this kind of an East Coast West Coast thing, or is this kind of like a Southwest Northwest thing, or
Oh man,
Northeast
Punk declared
Northwest?
that any YouTube beefs have to be handled on diss tracks and diss tracks only. That's the only way we can handle beef now.
Dude, oh no. Because there's some I've heard that were pretty good, and there's
Oh
some
yeah,
I've heard that were pretty
that's
bad.
so good. Yeah, yeah. Massacred.
Anyway, so let's get to we'll get to a few stories, and then we're gonna circle back so you guys can listen to and enjoy some of the comments from one Rachel Zegler, who has
Oof.
truly
Oof.
gone out of her way to tank the Snow White movie. But we're gonna get to
Yeah.
that here in a bit. Did you know? Did you know, Matthew, that if this story will come up, I hope. Come on, there we go. That the Texas Chainsaw Massacre rights are up for grabs. Did you know that?
No, I thought I heard something about it a while ago about it, but no, I had forgotten it for sure.
Now, look,
Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Number of bold-faced names have been mentioned. The interest in it. Why is Hollywood foaming? Sending Hollywood foaming. I guess they're upset that the rights are out there. Um. Oh. Pop. I don't know. I can't control that screen. So, are you guys? You guys are still seeing that? You hearing everything? Okay. You hearing me? Am I still on?
my internet's playing games right now.
Okay.
So if it does, it's kicked back in, but it's like
Okay.
playing some little games. So we'll just see here. We'll roll with it because it's nothing else
Okay.
other than that. I'm not having any issues with anything else.
Yeah.
Okay, Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Um, I've never cared for it really. As a kid, it was always one of those urban myth legend
Sure.
thingies, right?
Yeah.
And and I don't think it holds the sway anymore that urban legend myth story used to when
Yeah.
you and I were growing up, and many of the people we know here.
Yeah.
Um, so the it says right here, it says, the intellectual properties rights have hit the market, drawing major interest from producers and studios. Okay, fine, but I
Mhm.
just other than doing this with it,
Yeah.
like what else do you do with it? Like
Yeah.
what
I
do you
mean,
what do you do with this property?
yeah. I mean, it's been done, so you just gotta let it go.
I just don't know.
I'm definitely more interested in seeing Popeye the Slayer Man.
Mm, yes, absolutely. And I wanted to put the trailer on here in a
Yeah,
little
for
while for
a
that
can
too.
of rotten spinach.
Oh Jesus, that's just great. It's great stuff. Legendary Pictures, right? And they've held the property rights since 2017. Made a
Yeah.
movie that streamed on Netflix. They never made a sequel. And then the IP returned to the rights holders.
Yeah.
Now, I don't know what kind of money that this property wields. I don't know what
Yeah.
kind of sway that it wields. I guess if you had one of those, a Robert Eggers or somebody that could do something fresh and different, but just the classic same old slasher Texas Chain. Now, I remember, was it Jessica Biel? Was it Jessica Biel? I believe. Maybe not, but I'm trying to figure out or Elijah Dushku. I don't know. One of those chicks was in that reboot they did, and I
Oh
assume
yeah.
3 Star might be able to jump in here and tell me because I
He
assumed
might
he
know.
would know. He loves some Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
Yeah.
But what I find funny right here too is that it says that the rights returned in 2022 to a film company run by the original movie's co-screenwriter Kim Hinkle and son, and then another person named Pat Cassidy. And I'm like, yeah, they're still alive. It's
Mm.
but it says there's no bidding war as of yet, since there is no package or take on the material. And I'm like, yeah, they might be waiting a little while for that.
Yeah.
I think it was the is it this it doesn't say the year. It says the movie was banned in states and countries
Yep.
back in '74. It says the
Before. Yeah.
business side, which saw director Toby Hooper make the movie for less than $300,000 and make 31 million at the box office, which is a damn good return.
Yep.
That's a hell of a return on a movie. It reminds me of the Blair Witch, which made even
Yeah.
more money,
Yeah.
and I think was shot on even less budget. But the
Yeah.
reason I brought this story up is because I'm like, do people care about Texas Chainsaw Massacre? I mean, is that something people are really interested in?
I don't know.
Horror movies are easy to make, right? Slasher movies, easy to make. They're cheap to make, and they can make a lot of money. And it
Yep.
wouldn't surprise me if somebody took this and did something freaky with it or just went over the top, which these days wouldn't shock anybody.
Yeah.
Clint Jorgensen says foaming at the mouth to make chainsaw content. Yeah, right. Yeah, I don't think anybody is at this moment. And I agree with this too. Half the chainsaw movies are garbage, right? I mean, that original one, it's not exactly like that original one. It's more disturbing,
Yeah.
right, than it
Yeah.
is
It
scary or slasher-ish in a way.
it's a classic horror movie. It set precedent in a lot of ways with how it was banned and all the stuff that they did with it. So I
Right.
mean, it's got historical value for sure. But no, I never was a fan.
I just wonder, it's just one of those things to me where sometimes properties they just don't they just lose it,
Yeah.
and there's nothing there,
Right.
right? You can't make a whole universe out of it, which seems to be what
Yeah.
everybody's wanting to do. Okay, horror movie story number 2. Friday the 13th prequel series Crystal Lake casts Linda Cardellini as Pamela Voorhees. I'm sure they're going to ugly this chick up. Um, this is going to be a peacock feature, Matthew. Are you excited for a Friday the 13th peacock feature?
I don't like prequels to begin with, so no.
Crystal Lake. Oh, Lord.
Hey,
It
you know what?
says,
I went camping on a Crystal Lake. Every 4th of July, we'd go camping on a Crystal Lake, and that was just what we did. Oh, sorry, it was Silver Lake. Never mind.
oh, oh gosh. Again, like prequel. What we've already don't we know the story already? Like we've heard it all.
I mean, it's
What's
been
up,
told in all
Samir?
the movies. What's up?
Um, yeah, we've gotten everything. What else is there to do out
Right.
of Friday the 13th? I just can't imagine that there's any fresh take or anything new. It's gonna be the evil girl boss right here,
Yep.
Pamela Voorhees, and she's gonna be the key to everything.
Well, I don't know. Who
Ben
knows?
Jozo,
But
what's going on, buddy? How you doing? But anyway, but I didn't even know this, and that's the reason I saved it. I don't really want to spend any time on it. I just didn't know if you had
Yeah.
seen that they're doing a prequel to Friday the 13th.
No.
And I guess Cat I just it's like who's asking for this?
Yep.
Who is asking on Peacock,
Just
no doubt.
just give me good werewolf movies and I'm
Right?
happy.
Can't argue with that. Look, I love werewolves. I love werewolf movies too. I love werewolves so much. I'd marry one. Wait, what?
I didn't know you were a furry.
Only in certain places. So, well, anyway, let's get this show started. Um, so, you and I have discussed the Russo brothers a couple times.
Yeah.
We have brought up about them, coming back into the fold to do basically Secret Wars, which is going to be what the new Avengers movies are. And then I saw this story here. Russo brothers originally told Robert Downey Jr. no when he asked them to direct Avengers Doomsday and Secret Wars. They said we were resistant for a while. I'm
Mm.
almost kind of like, man, I kind of wish that they had stayed on the no
Yeah.
instead of finally agreeing to say
Yep.
yes. So what do you think?
Have you seen their latest movie? They were given unlimited budget and time to make a movie, and it's not good.
$320 million, right?
$320 million, and it
Woo!
looks visually pretty good for the most part, but
Sure.
everything else just doesn't work in it. So I don't know. I mean, they did some good stuff, and I like their stuff. So there's potential that they can pull something out and make something worthwhile. But I
Yeah.
don't know if they're going to have enough constraints put on them to be creative, to do something special.
So I wonder, and I wonder even in the chat, like I wonder, okay, do you guys in the chat, do you either A, have faith that the guys who brought you Infinity, Infinity War and Endgame, uh, can can bring you back into like an Avengers movie. It's not going to have all those original characters again. It's right. We're going to get new people or some of the mix of who we've gotten in the last phase or two. Um, do you have faith in their writing? Do you like any of their writing? You know what I mean? Like, I think
Yeah,
Endgame was definitely a far lesser of a movie than Infinity War, which I thought was fantastic.
yeah,
I thought
absolutely.
Infinity War was great.
Yep.
Um, but I want to know if anybody actually has, any interest anymore, right? Like it would a Robert Downey Jr., Russo brothers, Avengers, you know, two film kind of deal. Is that going to enough to bring you back to the theaters to go see Marvel movies again? Is that what it's going to take?
It's good for me. I think that it would take a lot. It's got to be reviewed well. It's got to make a killer trailer. They've got to do a lot to excite me to want to come back to the theater, because if this Fantastic Four movie doesn't do well, which it's looking like it's not going to do great, um, then they're in a lot of trouble.
It's
And
hard.
and
It's
if
hard to tell.
Superman doesn't do well, the Fantastic Four movie's going to do even worse. Right? The Fantastic Four movie is not going to save the superhero movie. It
I'm with
had to
you.
be Superman, because there aren't enough people who are interested or know much about the Fantastic Four, or who care enough about it to keep it going, because most of the people that care about it, that number's getting smaller and smaller. And with the terrible movies that have been put out for the Fantastic Four, that doesn't bring a lot of confidence with it.
No, not really.
And then
Let's
you
say,
cast Pedro Pascal, who is overexposed in my opinion, and throw him in there because he's in everything. I don't know that that helps
yeah, but
things
I
either.
don't know that it hurts to you and I who look at this thing. I think in a different lens, where I think maybe to a lot of people they can't get enough of Pedro Pascal. They love Pedro Pascal, and I think that's true for a lot of people. So, and I think you and I look at it through a different lens.
Yeah, yeah,
And sometimes it's hard to not, see past that, right? To
yeah.
see outside of that. And I think a lot of people do like him. He is white adjacent, so he can pass for a
Yep.
white guy. And I want to say, hey,
the
Mr. Wonderful and Johnny Reno
Reno.
and G.I. Jetman.
What's
Johnny
up?
Reno says nothing can make me go see a Marvel movie. And G.I.
I,
Jetman says I
that's
never
fair.
left the MCU. I always loved it and I still love it. And I appreciate that
That's
honesty and
fair.
I appreciate the fact that you do. I absolutely do, man. I wish I felt the same, and I hope to again one day as
Viper
well.
Scout. I almost agree with you. I mean, the Captain America trilogy is my favorite by far. But in um, Infinity War was an incredible movie. I think that is peak MCU right there,
Man,
and
it
then
is so
it's
good.
been kind of downhill ever since, and a little bumpy. But um, I do love that movie.
It's
Um,
just a wonder with the Russo brothers. I think,
well, so back to Menjoza's comment there. Um, I agree with you that Winter Soldier and Civil War, again, like I said, that Captain America trilogy is phenomenal. It works really well.
yeah.
Um, how long ago was that? What have they done recently? Have you seen that Chris Pratt, Millie Bobby Brown movie?
And of course, the one you're talking about is the Electric
Electric,
State
yeah,
right here, which yes, it did get a $320 million budget.
yeah,
It stars Millie Bobby Brown, Chris
yep,
Pratt, and everybody's favorite short round, Ke
yeah.
Huy Quan.
Who's in it for like two
Uh,
seconds, but
it
whatever.
it has Jason Alexander even in it.
Oh boy,
Giancarlo Esposito,
hey man, he's
Stanley Tucci.
so a couple of these guys. I swear, they keep using the same people. I think they're getting a little overexposed. They need to diversify their portfolio a little bit.
I love that phrase, diversify their portfolio. Yeah, I guess the thing is when it comes to the Russos, they so right in the middle of COVID, okay, when filming was just like shut down basically,
Yeah.
except for Tom Cruise getting mad at an intern or something. Um, so they had a little streaming series on YouTube, and they talked about making movies, the process of making movies, and how they would get their inspirations and stuff. That was very good. That was very good. But for two brothers who probably can finish each other's sentences, right? I thought it was very good, and to me, they seem like people who know what they're doing. Now, was that part that they were given a blank check by Disney?
Yeah.
Or were they given parameters by Disney? And when they've been given a blank check, they went out and made Electric State, which,
Right.
by all accounts is not good at all. So I don't really know which one's the real Russo brothers, if that
Right.
makes sense. I
Yep.
don't know. And at least having the MCU to lean on, the characters to lean on, instead of creating their own, maybe that helps them rather than their current stuff. It is funny though, Jay Astro talking about every movie currently has to feature Pedro or Jenna Ortega, but they also have to have Zendaya
Mm-hmm.
because she has like 2 million followers on Instagram.
And then if you need
Or
the authority figure / comedy relief, you got to throw in that other guy they just mentioned, the Stanley Tucci.
oh, Stanley Tucci, Jenna Ortega's a good one. Um, the there's a few of them, and they use it off of their social media. That's
Yeah.
basically what it is. They
Well,
they
yeah,
just take their
that's
followers and they go, oh, okay.
that
Uh,
doesn't translate, but
let's see. Oh, Joe fan swimming with the sun right now. That sounds great. Actually,
nice.
it's almost warm enough here to do that.
It was
By
90 degrees here, and then now
hell
it's
yeah,
thunder, lightning, and storming. So it'll be 70 tomorrow probably.
we've had a beautiful day. I ain't gonna lie. Viper Scout says sometimes people's ideas for their own IP isn't great, but they do wonders reworking others, and that's very true.
Yep.
Some directors,
Yeah.
producers are good at taking something else and molding it into their own, instead of coming up with their own characters and their own story and script and everything. Usually they don't do the script, but they at least give the guidelines, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And Joseph says, I think The Gray Man was a great movie for the Russos. I have not seen The Gray Man, so if that's something I need to check out,
It's worth checking out for sure.
okay, good. Good. Yep. I'd be jealous of spring break. My son had his last week, and I'm sure he's really not happy to be back at school. He's Johnny Rito says, "Who are the two producer brothers that had sex changes? Those are the Wachowskis. They did The
Yep.
Matrix. They
Yeah.
did The Matrix. That's The Matrix. So they were brothers during The Matrix, and now they are sisters."
Yeah.
And Jay Astro hits that one right on the head.
Yep.
So anyway, but yeah, so I just initially telling Robert Downey Jr. no, they didn't want to come back and do Secret Wars. They didn't want to come back and do, anything really related to Marvel. I would say yes, Endgame, Infinity War, Winter Soldier, Captain America Civil War, quality. I mean, there's a lot of quality in there. And if they stay along those lines, then I'm okay with it.
Yeah.
Right? I'm okay. If they can recapture that magic, dude,
Yep.
then I'm okay with it. I just worry that even though from a culture war standpoint, if that's what you want to call it, are we gonna try to get that stuff stamped out, right? Or is it gonna keep showing up in our movies and TV shows? Are we still gonna get our girl boss moments and our fifth wave feminism and our intersectional feminism, and you know what I mean? Like,
Well, I mean, my biggest pet peeve is you name a movie and then the title character is a bystander in his own movie, like Shang-Chi and
sure,
so many of these other movies.
Hawkeye and the Hawkeye series.
Well, no,
right?
that one actually worked because Kate Bishop and the way that he was actually the mentor to Kate Bishop, so she becoming the new Hawkeye, that one actually works well, I think. These other ones, it's Shang-Chi, but his female friend and his sister take over the whole movie. The movie's all about them. It's Marvel's new hero, Katie, right?
Sorry, I forgot all about Marvel's Katie.
Yeah. I mean, that movie made me so mad because it had nothing. Shang-Chi was a bystander in his own movie. He didn't even
Sure.
have to be there for the
Well,
movie to happen.
Doctor Strange, maybe
Doctor Strange,
even,
another one. Doctor
that
Strange, Two
movie.
Moms. I mean, that
Yeah,
one was the same way too. I
right.
mean, he was a bystander in his own movie. It was the
Yeah.
Scarlet Witch's movie.
Now, however, G.I. Jetman says Marvel's, wasn't a fan, I guess the Beast part in there. The Eternals, G.I. Jetman liked, and Shang-Chi as well.
Yeah. Well, but
you know.
you've got Shang-Chi and his sister, who's never had any formal training, is better at martial arts than him, and he's supposed to be the master of martial arts. He's supposed to be the best martial artist human on the planet, right? And his biggest competition would be Iron Fist because he was trained in a heavenly city of Kunlun. So that's why he would be a match for Shang-Chi. And Shang-Chi was supposed to teach quick kick, right? And
Right.
you've got this whole crossover thing. The Shang-Chi in the movie was a bum parking cars, and his sister was far better, and she never had any formal training. So
Well, and what now? And wasn't she had her own underground fighting ring?
yeah, that's right. Yeah,
Right, as well, had grown up to start that and do that too. Very, very odd to me. Odd, movie. But again, it's like that's what I was saying earlier. I mean, people, everybody's got different stuff that they're
yeah,
into that they really dig, and sometimes that can be a connection from the comics or some other reason, right? Yeah, a cartoon or whatever. But I do feel those movies do bait and switch, like
yeah.
Mendoza says, and Joe Fan 84 says, I just don't really go and watch movies anymore. And I think a lot of people are with you, and that's why we may see movie theaters start
Go
closing
away.
down soon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, they needed Snow White to do well,
Oh
and
wow. Yeah.
with the failure of Snow White, some of these movie theater. I mean, I think in the next month or so, you're going to see a bunch of these movie theaters start closing doors because they can't
Man.
get butts in seats for anything, and there's nothing coming out that's going to entice them to come out. Now, I would say go see A Working Man with Jason Statham because it's based off of a Chuck Dixon novel series, and Chuck Dixon is awesome, and it should be an entertaining romp with Jason Statham in an action movie,
Right.
and go see that because that should do well. I would hope that if somebody was going to go see a movie, that they'd go see that, and not wait for streaming. But a lot of people are going to wait for streaming,
It's
which means that more movie theaters are going to close.
it's been the disappearance of the middle movie,
Yeah,
right? It's in video games we call it like you have triple A,
yeah,
and then you have like double A, and then you have indie. And when dev teams are spending hundreds of millions of dollars to make AAA games that end up sucking and not
yeah,
selling, then studios close. People get fired. There's
yep,
layoffs. If you set out to make a double A game where you focus on the gameplay and it's fun, it's a fun script, but it may not look the best, but it plays great. It's a good game. It feels good, but it may not have the best graphics or the latest tech, but those games a lot of times could do really well and they could be a great boon to that company. Whereas in movies, everybody was shooting for the moon and rarely hitting it,
yeah.
right? So I wanted to bring this story up real quick too, as we find out that Turk Murphy says, "Hey, you know what? I don't even have a TV, folks. I don't even watch that shit on my phone," says Turk Murphy. He says, I don't play with TV at all. Um, there you go. Let's see.
That's my quick kick custom I made from Shang-Chi, the Marvel
I
Legends.
was gonna bring you up and throw you on a little full screen real quick. There you go.
So,
There you go, baby. Looking
and
good. Looking
threw
sharp.
threw in some gridiron nunchucks just to make people mad. Um,
Oh wow. Oh man, you're intentionally trying to piss him off. Matthew, you're gonna start a riot in here, man. Let's go. You know what I mean? Like let's slow our roll, Turbo. All right. Um, but let's see here. I want to share this
that gridiron Storm Shadow
conversation.
accessory pack was awesome. I actually that's my favorite gridiron pack, and one of the
All
few
right.
that I actually got. Oh yeah,
So
I'm excited about this one. I want to see this movie, but I did hear that other news that I think you're thinking about.
yeah, Tubi saving the day for Looney Tunes, folks. Warner Brothers Discovery pulls classic cartoons from Max. And Catch Up Entertainment might come to the rescue for Coyote versus Acme. So the film itself, the day the Earth blew up, is in theaters. I did not even hear about this, know about it, or anything. However, I've heard it's pretty darn good, and for that I'm glad. However, I did find out in this article that all the Looney Tunes is being pulled from Max. So you're not going to be able to go look at any of the Looney Tunes stuff on there. It's Tubi is kind of swiping in, I guess, and hoping to pick up the tab. It says that Deadline reports Warner Brothers is negotiating with Hellboy, the Crooked Man distributor Ketchup Entertainment for an all rights acquisition in the $50 million range. This follows Ketchup doing the same for The Day the Earth Blew Up. And what it is they're wanting to possibly put the Looney Tunes on Tubi, which is free TV.
It's awesome.
And that is awesome.
Tubi is the second largest streaming service out there right now.
And it's good. It's actually good. It
It
works
is.
fine.
There's so much good
Yeah.
stuff on there. They've got old Doctor Who. They've got the GI Joes. They've got Cops. They've got Conan, the cartoon. They've got. If you want your cartoons, you're going to go to Tubi because they've got some of the best. And then they've got the Robo Force. cartoon that's coming in April that was made from Nacelli, who's doing the RoboForce toys that you're seeing at Walmart. They actually did a cartoon series that they're going to put on Tubi next month.
Um, yeah, I think this is good. What I find sad about this is that, Warner Brothers is taking Looney
Yep.
Tunes off of its platform, its
Yeah.
streaming platform.
Yep.
Um, I know Looney Tunes maybe doesn't bring in or ring that bell for a lot of people, but
But it
it's
may
freaking
you.
Looney Tunes, dude. What are we
Yeah.
talking about here?
I
This
mean,
is insane to me.
it's to me, it's like Disney selling off Mickey Mouse.
That's
I
what I
mean,
mean.
yeah.
You- I don't know, man. I saw this though, and uh, and so to be coming to the rescue, basically what it says. But it says
Yeah.
here that let's see. As it's one of the parent company's biggest IPs, Max is the home of classic Looney Tunes cartoons and shorts until now. The continuing culling edict from on high has finally reached Bugs, Daffy, Porky, the Coyote, the Roadrunner. They will no longer appear in the catalog or search bar thanks to those irresistible licensing fees. So they're basically saying, you know what, we'd rather license it out
Yeah.
than put it on our own platform. Now, that used to be the rule, not the exception.
Yep.
Remember that?
Oh yeah.
This
That's how
has
they made
been
all their money was with licensing.
absolutely. So to me, that says, okay, Max, as much as we want to say that we're making money on Max and it does have great content, may not be the money maker. Or, hey, you know what? We need to maybe sacrifice a lamb
Yeah.
and to get some revenue going.
Yep.
It says Max's loss is Tubi's gain as the popular free service is adding the Looney Tunes show and the Sylvester and Tweety mysteries starting April 1st. Rather appropriately, according to CBS. Joining them are Scooby Doo Adventures, including Scooby Doo Ghostly Goals and Scooby Doo Mecha Mutt Menace, which I am not familiar with that. If anybody else is, please let me know.
I'm sure my daughter has seen it. We have every Scooby Doo thing
I,
there
I
is because of my wife. So
so the thing of it is too is that if you let's say you were like, hey, you know what? I'm just gonna have it on physical media. That's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna do physical media, and I agree. J Astro Looney Tunes is greater than Disney. I want to say hello to Legend series.
what's up,
Um,
man?
so and then I'm gonna go back and hit up some of these comments you guys are saying
I got
on
to
here.
say that the old Looney Tunes. I mean, while it's a great property, I'm sure that Warner Brothers also doesn't want to deal with the backlash or the heat from a large company putting up something that would be considered probably offensive by a lot of um,
That's true.
modern people
That's true.
who don't appreciate the sensibilities of the time that those cartoons were created.
I agree, and I'm glad you brought that up. I was going to, but we all know that there are ones we watched as kids that probably will never ever be shown on TV or even a Tubi
Right.
these days. However, let's say you have physical media, and let's say hey, I'm just gonna break out my old DVDs. Screw these streamers. Well, guess what's going on with Warner Brothers DVDs? Do you know what's going on with Warner Brothers DVDs?
Well, I remember the scandal in the early 2000s about them putting shitty discs together that all failed. No, I haven't heard the newest one though.
Well, they're evidently Warner Brothers
Yeah.
DVDs are suffering disc rot.
Okay, so this article uh, is is this content's actually ancient because it was about 10 years ago that everybody started saying, okay, these discs are failing.
I
These
remember that.
Warner Brothers issues. So the disc that they put out as official high quality Warner Brothers content was put on inferior programming or disc quality, and the disc started failing. No scratches, no damage to the disc whatsoever, and they start failing. So the fact that they're disintegrating now does not surprise me one bit.
I
They
agree.
they they were the first ones to put them in the plastic reduced packaging, so the cardboard DVD cases,
Yeah. Oh yeah.
and where you clip them and all that other nonsense. So it would not surprise me, and it's sad, but this is the way modern society works. You never build anything to last because they have to come back and rebuy it, and
Now,
you want them to rebuy it so you can re copyright it or make more money off of it or whatever.
and you know as well as I do, and this happens especially with DVDs and every collection,
Yeah.
right? They'll do a new collection and then a different collection. They'll do a exclusive, or they'll do a anniversary edition, or they'll do a whatever, right? And you'll end
Yep.
up buying that same cartoon or that same video. Like 7 times you'll have. Then it's
Yeah.
in widescreen. Then it's in Blu-ray. Maybe you're one of the few people who still have an HD DVD player. Um, but it says that
Sucker.
DVDs, according to Sony, have I know, right, have a life expectancy. It's like having Betamax instead of VHS.
Well, so I learned my lesson with Betamax because I loved Beta. Beta was a far superior format, and should never have gone way of VHS. But the reason it did was because of the porn industry and Disney. And so I took a look at well, not to say that they were connected or anything. That's another story.
You said it, not me.
But then when the HD DVD DivX and Blu-ray fight started, I watched and saw how the corporations played out with it. And when Sony attached itself to Blu-ray, I said, okay, we're going Blu-ray. Everything's going to be Blu-ray.
Right.
Forget HD DVD because Sony's going to carry this market in there. And so I knew Blu-ray was going to win that one. And
Well,
uh,
so basically, Warner has been aware of potential issues with DVD titles manufactured between 2006 and
yep,
2008. They actually are replacing them. However, says where possible, the defective discs have been replaced with the same title. However, as some of the affected titles are no longer in print or the
yep,
rights have expired,
yep,
consumers have been offered an exchange for a title of like value.
yep. Which means that they're getting rid of some of their content.
So they're like, look,
You'll never see it again. Song of the South. Yeah, you got to find pirate versions
oh
of that.
sure. They're like, look, listen, I'm sorry, your once a man Cobra Commander is
Yeah.
not available anymore, but I'm gonna offer you Quick Kick.
Hasbro does that all the time. If
I
if if
know.
you if you're going to get an exchange from them for anything, they're not going to send you. They said equal or greater value, right? They'll send you something random figure, and you're going to get the most common peg warming figure that's out there. I've been lucky enough that they've actually had my replacements in stock, so I got some of those replaced. But one of them they didn't, and instead they sent me an Arctic bat, which I thought was interesting.
Yeah, right. Not one of my favorites. I'm just
Oh
gonna tell
no, no!
you.
Well, the Arctic bat was one that nobody could get.
No, yeah, I'm
Yeah,
with you. Which sound that's great at the time. I fully understand. And you're right. Nobody could get him, and I had him early, and I still wasn't impressed.
I still take that armor and put it on the Crimson one, and he looks
Yeah.
awesome.
Viper Scout, yeah, equal value would be Kamakura. Okay, there you go. But
And
anyway, yeah,
it's a good figure.
so like you said, this has been a problem that's been known for a while. It's been making its way around in forums and stuff like that. Um, the bad part about this is yes, like they can try to replace, whatever, but yeah, a lot of these are no longer in print. The rights have expired, and
Hmm.
so some of them people may not be able to get. Um, and of course, again, when you think of physical media, which we talk about a lot, as well, that you'd rather have everything on physical so they can't make edits and changes and stuff like that.
Yeah,
But then a medium that's not cassette tape, that's not analog tape,
right.
you expect if you take care of it that it would last quite a while. But as we're finding out, it's not necessarily the case.
Yep.
Disc rot. Isn't that interesting?
Yeah.
So I want to hit up some of these comments real quick before we move into to a couple other
Three
stories.
star. I hope nothing broke.
Um, well, Wait, what broke?
He heard the distinct noise of a mythic crash
Oh
hitting the
no.
floor.
All
So
right, let us know. He actually said too when you were showing off the nunchucks, he said those
no,
nunchucks were
and
$37.
and I responded in the chat. I said not what
Okay.
I paid for them because it came with the Storm Shadow pack,
Yeah.
and it was all included, and it was not that expensive.
So
I couldn't have paid that.
so Johnny and
Me too.
Tony
Yeah,
watch a lot of Tubi. You
so do
too.
I.
I have watched more of it over the last half a year or more. I've tuned in
Yeah,
more often. Um let's see. A rap feud between Jay Astro and Three Star. That could be
there we
interesting.
go.
I'd tune in maybe to that. War Chest is here, and he says, "I watched the new Hellboy, didn't care for it at all." And of course, that was we that was in relation to one of the stories earlier
Yeah,
about somebody had the rights to it.
I'm still
Um,
curious. I want to see it. I heard that there are more Cthulhu elements, and I'm a sucker for Cthulhu, so we'll see.
yeah, yeah. Let's see here. There's Daredevil Dave. He's back. He's back.
He woke
Um,
up.
yep. Viper Scout needs to go back and check the Golden Collection. 3-star draw. We need them 40s Looney Tunes ones. Yeah, yeah. Some of those are. I mean, they just are of their time. They
Yeah,
are a World War II. They are part propaganda, United States.
yeah, but I mean, come on,
They
you've
are.
got Bugs Bunny and Drag. I mean, come on.
Yeah, dude.
He's so progressive.
Just like Chandler's dad in Friends.
Yeah.
And Johnny Reno, I agree with you 100% with that comment. There are too many pussies these days.
What's
I'm
wrong?
with you.
What's wrong with being a pussy? They take a pounding and keep on going. I mean, come on.
Man, like that's quality, folks. Quality. You tune in just for that. You tune in just for that.
I can't take
I do
credit for that
too.
one. That was a Golden Girls joke. What's her name?
Oh, was her Sophia?
No, no,
The mom? Who the
no,
hell
no,
was that?
no. Oh gosh, the one that survived the longest.
Golden Girls?
Yeah,
I love some Golden Girls. I'm not gonna lie, folks. That's a guilty pleasure. I don't even know if it's a guilty pleasure. It's
yeah.
just a
No, it's
pleasure.
that's a good show.
And I'm gonna tell you, I could spend 2 hours swimming in B. Arthur's eyebrows.
So
At
it
least
was
two
Betty White.
hours.
It was Betty White.
Oh,
Yeah,
my
who
bad.
made
Yeah,
yeah,
Betty. Yeah, good
yeah.
old Betty.
She's the one that made that joke.
Lovely, lovely, lovely woman. One of my favorites. Hopefully, one of yours too. So Jasper says nowadays we'll be lucky if they ever put stuff out on physical media ever again because they'd rather you just rent it through streaming.
Yeah, but they're getting back to it actually because they realize that it's
I think you're gonna
another
have to.
revenue because they're not getting licensing rights. They have to get it from somewhere. So creating physical media
100%.
is another way that they can do it because not everybody's going to rent the movie on digital.
Yes,
So
sir.
they're finding some value in that. And what they found recently was that they were losing value to the pirates. So the entire Netflix series of the Karate Kid has been put out on disc, and you had to go get it from basically pirate sites. And so now Netflix is saying, "Oh no, we're going to start putting this stuff out." So
I mean, that's why not? That's a
yeah,
smart, idea. People, I think there are more collectors now than ever before. So you've got people collecting multiple things than ever
yeah,
were before, including physical media, DVD sets, right? Completing sets, stuff like that. So yeah, I mean, it's again, they're gonna need as many revenue streams as they can get moving forward because the tech business has completely and utterly flipped the Hollywood model, the TV model, the streaming, just all of that. The whole model about that extra revenue from
yeah,
putting a DVD out, right? Holding off on a movie release. You remember the days of you get a commercial say that you saw blah 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 in the summer, but get ready because for Christmas the Phantom Menace on
yep.
VHS or whatever,
Well, and so how many years did it take before things came out? It was usually a year after they were out of the
Oh
theaters. And
yes,
back in the day, movies would be brought in and out of theaters three or four times, and they might be in the theater for 2 or 3 years. And
Yeah,
then it would
absolutely.
be a year after that they would put it out on VHS. But on VHS, you would have to pay $100 to $150 to purchase that, or you
Right.
could go to Blockbuster and rent it. And that was a deal that they had with the rent houses to inflate that price, so that people would be forced to go rent it, and then later on they could buy it used, or they could buy it later. And then that whole thing changed, and everything changes over time, right? But
You know,
there's
it
plenty of
it
ways to
does, of
make
course.
revenue from these things.
Right. No, I'm with you. I think that it's kind of back to the good old days, if you want to call it that. In my opinion, I think that these companies, yeah, they're going to have to look at it and say, hey, we need that revenue stream. We need to license this stuff
Yep.
out instead of hoarding it on our own.
Yep.
We need to, try to get this stuff out in physical media, make it as appealing as we can to people to
Yep.
want to buy. I agree with you. Three-star draw says, luckily it was Anubis trying to flex and got too close to the edge. He did not do a scrap iron though from Club Tarkin. That's good.
Yeah.
That's good because he tried to off himself. Only
Then
took out one
up
Bastet and
Operation Monster Force.
yep, yep, yep.
Yep.
That's
Well,
good.
as long as nobody was hurt in all of that, because Anubis
Yeah.
is a great figure.
Yeah, no, that he does look super cool. I agree. Mendoza coming in hot says Keaton's Batman was one of the first mass release on video for the public. Um, on VHS, it was 89. There was a lot of stuff out.
There's a lot of stuff before that was
Maybe is he
released to
may
the
be talking
public,
about
but
like a blockbuster, like, huge blockbuster. Because if I look back, if I go back and think about the DVDs that were released, because you remember in the early
well,
days they were crazy expensive. They're
well,
like a
like I
hundred
said,
dollars.
yeah, that's what I said. They were $100 to $150, and they did that so that you'd be forced to rent them, not purchase them. And so the
Right.
only the rental houses could purchase them, so they could make their money
Yes.
back on rentals,
Yes.
and basically pay it off. And then they could sell if they wanted to after that for whatever they wanted. But it
Man,
may not be wrong in that respect, because it
I was gonna
wasn't
say,
really
yeah.
until the 90s that people started to be able to go to Suncoast Video or whatever to purchase VHSs independently of the $100 to $150 price tag.
Yes. Now, one thing I will say, and Viper Scout says usually, Disney was put their VHS at a sell through price. You remember they would unlock the vault
Yeah,
once in a
and
while, and you could buy those clamshell,
it
right?
creates FOMO
And it created FOMO, and you wanted to get that collection. You could only buy Cinderella once
for a
every
limited
so
time.
often for a limited time, and it was like I gotta have it.
Yep.
And you're right, that was a big deal. It reminds me of the standing in line at midnight for the Xbox release or the latest Zelda game, and
Oh
I'll
yeah.
let you highlight that one there.
RIP Suncoast, and I gotta agree with that. I spent so much time at Suncoast Video. I would pre-order the anime that I wanted. I would pre-order my Farscape DVDs.
Oh
So
wow.
I
Yeah.
had all of the original Farscape DVDs as they were released by ADV, which was actually a local company here in Dallas, and they did a lot of voiceover work and stuff like that. So they did a lot with anime and Farscape and stuff like that. But I had an account with them for the longest time.
Yeah, man. Suncoast was the jam, dude. That's for sure. And
It
I
was
remember
like,
going.
was it Capitol Records and Suncoast Video? I mean, you always had to go to the record store and the video store.
Yeah, and we, I used to love just perusing through, and they had all the swag too, right? All the
Yeah.
swag. So if you wanted movie swag, you wanted a street sign, if you wanted a fake tombstone, by or some whatever, they had a lot of swag in there too that you could get, and
It was
and I
kind of like Hot Topic before Hot Topic.
yeah, yeah, yeah. In a way, right? In a way. I mean, Joseph says, "Yeah, Batman changed the game." Yeah, I firmly believe that, man. I'd love to. Shit, man. I'd love sometime to go back and do a Batman '89 retrospective, like
Love that.
just
Love it.
about the film itself and the music, right? Not only the
Oh, Danny
soundtrack,
Elfman.
but
Yep.
the also the Prince soundtrack
Yep.
that was with it, and it's a big freaking deal, man. That's
I
for
mean,
sure.
they put a lot of money into that, and they got. I mean, they made their money, but it was a huge gamble at the time. Yeah,
Oh yeah,
I don't know. Do you remember the articles? Mr. Mom is
Mr.
Batman.
Mom. Oh yeah, yeah, definitely. I mean, I don't know how he was, he pulled that off. No one. I mean, you wouldn't have found anybody that had much confidence in that,
Yeah,
and I think
right.
everybody was pleasantly surprised. Um,
J Astro overpriced. Yes, they were a mall
oh, for
store.
sure.
They
Yeah,
were
they were in the
always
mall.
in the mall, so you had
Yeah.
to pay mall prices. And when you're a mall rat,
Yep.
that's you do what you
That's
got
what
to
you're
do.
gonna do. So really quickly, I want to bring up this story right here. Um,
Johnny Rito, you watched Mr. Mom the other day on Tubi.
Oh shit. That's awesome. That's awesome. I love that movie too. I love Mr. Mom. He purposefully loses the
Oh
the
yeah.
company obstacle course race too
Yeah.
at the end and everything. Yeah,
You
it's
know,
great.
we watched Twins the other day,
Oh wow.
and we had a blast with
I
that. That
bet.
was that was fun.
Yeah. No, absolutely, dude.
I haven't seen
Um,
that in forever.
I haven't either. I haven't seen it. It's probably been 20 years,
Yeah.
probably since I've seen it. Maybe more. So John McTiernan, Die Hard and Predator director, blames the literature of our time for the downfall of Hollywood, calls comic books garbage. Um,
I'm not going to
so
disagree with him at this point.
no, no, no. No. Obviously, he also did the Hunt for Red October,
Yeah.
right there.
Now,
Uh,
I will say, if you go back to comic books in the 90s and up to about 2012, I would
Great
say there's a
picture.
lot of really good comic book stuff. There's a little bit after that, but for the vast majority of comic books, they turned to garbage after that.
Yeah.
And I mean, not to say there wasn't garbage before that, but there
No,
was
of
a
course.
lot more higher quality material coming out of comic books back then than there is now. And that goes to the people who they're hiring to write these books. And that goes to the same people that Hollywood is hiring because they're hiring from the comic book industry because they're using it as a feeder program.
Yeah.
And that's the mistake of Hollywood is that Warner Brothers owns DC Comics and Disney owns Marvel Comics, and that's their breeding ground. Is they take advantage of these writers who have no skill, have no talent, but they're willing to work for pennies, and they want to pay them pennies, and then they produce garbage, and then garbage content. They think, oh, if we put this name on it, people will buy it, and it'll be good. And no, it's
Well,
not.
well,
But
also here, like just kind of reading, like I do find this, interesting, and this is a little different. It kind of goes in a different place that I didn't think it would, but so this is a Forbes article that he was talking to Forbes, and he said
yeah,
it's a significant thing politically. It's a significant thing. It's actually pretty well documented that the experience of seeing a drama, a movie, a play in a group of other people is a completely different experience than seeing it alone.
yep,
Enormous numbers of hormones are exchanged, all sorts of information that goes in between people in the audience. It will never happen. It will happen again, he says, but we have not watched the end of the agora, the public space. Now, he's talking about
yeah,
movie theaters and the combined collective experience. It's like going to church or a sporting event. He continues, though, the main reason is that this is not the first time it's happened.
yeah.
It happened in the 50s when television happened.
Mm-hmm.
But then film companies were in the hands of filmmakers who fought for their industry. They
Yep.
got widescreen. They developed better colors, better sound, all sorts of things to create an experience
Yep.
that one couldn't have at home.
The
And
sound experience.
they
Yeah.
got a whole nother half century out of the industry because they fought for it.
Yep.
But now he says people who run the studios are just over serious for the money.
Yep.
They don't know how to fight for one thing, and they have no personal stake in it because they're not filmmakers.
Yep.
They're money managers.
Yes.
But he says someone else will create a new industry
That's right.
that happens publicly.
Yeah. And I gotta full heartedly agree with everything that he's saying there because it's corporate media now. The lawyers, the business executives have taken over, and the artists are no longer involved with it. And not to say that artists are the best at managing money and that kind of thing, but at the same time, if you want something to be authentic, you have to have an authentic point of view, not a corporate mishmash of whatever the executives say they want to have happen, because people don't know what they want until they get it, which is a lot of times true. So you have to find a way to create something special with what you have, with the constraints. And with corporate media, it's just running amok on all of
Yeah.
this stuff, and it will come back down to YouTube filmmakers, Star Wars theory, and people who have this passion and this desire and the skill to do it. And it's
Right.
and
Right.
Hollywood is pretty much dead. Nobody can film in Hollywood anymore. They all have to film in Atlanta. They all have to film in Canada. They all have to film in the UK because they get tax breaks on it, right?
Right.
So, unfortunately, the magic of Hollywood is gone, and it's going to be held in the hands of independent filmmakers going forward. I don't see it surviving any other way.
Well, I'm, you know, I do think that it's going to require, like what happened in the 70s, a group of young and up and coming filmmakers to completely shake up the industry,
Yeah,
like what happened, with Lucas and Spielberg and De Palma, Coppola, whomever, right? Like
yeah,
and a group of people who come in and just absolutely take the industry by the collar and just shake it up,
yep,
and they do something innovative and new, and different. I find it amazing that the graphics we got from Jurassic Park look better than many of the
yeah,
graphics we get in today's movies. I
absolutely,
find that fascinating that somehow that's still possible, but
yep,
yet it is when you go back and watch those films and new films, even in this Daredevil series. Um, which this I thought was interesting because you and I have brought up about the shows on Netflix. They were asking for more money from Disney to make those shows better than they were. Daredevil, Defenders, Luke Cage, Jessica Jones. They really felt they had something on their hands, and Disney would not give them the money that they asked for
how
to
much money
make
did they
those
spend
shows
on
great.
on the Acolyte? How much money did they
I
spend on Ahsoka?
okay,
How much money have they
okay.
spent on these garbage products
I
that don't do
agree.
anything?
Yes, a
So
hundred
I,
percent.
I don't I don't understand, unless this was back with the Netflix days, because Kevin Feige did not like Jeff Loeb, and so he refused to give him any kind of budget, and then he cut his strings when they decided to pull the Netflix deal.
It is amazing to me that you go back and they talk about, look, because basically it's was it Ted Sarandos, okay,
Okay.
Netflix CEO. He said, that hang on, let me get down here. He began his career with Netflix in 1999, moved up, he got promoted to his current position in 2020. And in reflection of not his own career, but also his thoughts on the future, he talked about how, let's see, in the early days, it says, asked if he could provide any specific examples of certain things he believed had fallen out of public consciousness. He talked about like the idea that House of Cards was the biggest deal ever in content. He said, by far, our Marvel deal in 2013 was the biggest deal in the history of television. No one will ever touch it. We committed to 5 original seasons of TV with no pilots,
Yep.
13 expensive episodes for each show centered around one character, and then a crossover season. And the problem was is Disney did not want to invest the money
Yeah.
in them to be able to pull it off, even though initially they were okay with them trying to pull it off.
And look what happened when you're forced into creativity, when you're forced by constraints of budgetary needs. Look what happens. You get something that's entertaining. You get something that's worthwhile. You get something that blew up Netflix. The
Right.
first season of Daredevil crashed their servers for the first time, right? I mean, come on, you can't beat that, right? And then it just
Yep.
built off of it, and they created something really special with that Netflix Marvel group. And love them, like them, whatever. They had diminishing returns in terms of quality for several of the shows, but overall, it's pretty darn good, and it's far better than what we're getting right now.
Yes, no, absolutely. It's interesting to me. You talked about like giving all that money to something like the Acolyte or Ahsoka or Obi-Wan or something like that for Disney,
Yeah,
and
which comes back to the fact that Kevin Feige hated Jeff Loeb and didn't want to support the TV side of things, and Netflix was included in
yeah,
the
you
TV
remember they
side of
kept them
things.
kept them very separate.
Yeah.
Remember, kept them very separate. Made sure everybody
Yep.
knew that these things were very separate. Agents of Shield, very
Yep.
separate,
Up
and
until Winter Soldier.
yeah, when and then they started to kind of cross.
And
Well, every now and then they
Infinity
would,
War, but
yeah,
yeah.
Infinity War. Um, but he talks about, Disney being wanting them to make everything as cheaply as possible, even though the
Yeah.
shows were popular, even though they were, people were tuning in and watching the
Hey,
shows.
you know what? I'm all for that. I want you to make things as cheaply as possible. That way you can make a
Right,
profit on it, right?
right.
So you can make your money back. And then you force creativity. And I mean, sometimes you got to give a little to get a little bit more. But I think that it was very important for them to keep constraints on the purse.
Well, that's what we were talking about, forcing creativity. That's where you have to get, you have to dig in. You have to be hungry. You have to
Yep.
fight, right?
Yep.
And that's usually where your best stuff comes from,
Yep.
right?
Absolutely.
Um and Legend Series says they also incorporated that awful Thor the Dark World. That's one of the
They
worst
did.
movies.
They did.
That I almost Legends. I was so close to walking out of the movie theater in that movie. I'm one of those people. I was trying to weigh the money, right, and I was like, "Damn it," because I was so bored in
Looking
that.
back on
It
it,
was.
that
It
is
was.
still such a much better movie than anything that came out in the last 4
I'm with
years.
you a lot of things anyway, but god dang it, that thing was awful, dude.
I
That was so
man,
bad.
I still like that movie. And one of my favorite parts of that movie was when Loki morphed into Chris Evans and was the pompous ass Captain America. I thought that part was hilarious,
Yes.
right?
Oh
I mean, there
yes.
are good parts about that, and I know Chris Eccleston was a pain in the ass to work with, and while I like his Doctor Who and I like his Destro, I like him in certain things, but
Right.
and he was such an asshole,
Yeah. Yep.
and he blames it on mental difficulties and stuff like that, which I don't doubt, but at the same time,
Right.
he trashed the Doctor Who fandom for so long, and now he's trying to get back in their good graces
Uh-huh.
and say what a good Doctor Who he was. It's like, well, you had a good season, but that's it.
Yeah, gosh. Yeah, man, I don't know. I just think that anytime that you have people, these companies who talk down to their audience, talk
Yep.
about their audience. I think we're gonna see less and less of it as we kind of get to the back end here when we bring up some of these fun Rachel Zegler videos to watch as we
Yeah.
kind of finish up. Um, it's
Now,
it's
okay,
it's
so
it's watching somebody literally implode their own movie, which
yep,
has a gigantic budget,
yep,
and it's someone very young who is doing it,
yep,
and and
and
and
she's just so naive.
and didn't get told until really
Yeah,
the last minute
yeah.
to calm their tits.
So, have you ever seen a British TV show called The Graham Norton Show?
Yeah, I know Graham Norton.
That show at one time was one of my favorite talk shows, period, because he got actors to come on there and he got them to be real people
Oh
for a
yeah,
minute and
yeah.
got real conversations out of them with the group that he assembled. And he had such amazing conversations with some of the people that I thought were fascinating and very interesting. And then he was broken. He got broken by American elections and never really recovered. But
Like so many.
yeah,
Well, it's easy to spot now.
yeah,
It's easy to spot now, and Rachel Zegler has a few of those actually. So, um, I want to check out the Andor season 2 trailer. Do you guys want to take a look and see?
Did they come out with another one that has not such bad music?
They have one that just came out yesterday,
Okay,
if
no, I
I'm
haven't seen
not
that one. I
mistaken.
saw the other one with that
Yeah,
horrible music.
one day ago. I figure we could check this out together if you
Yeah,
guys
yeah,
wanted
yeah.
to see it. I liked Andor. I thought
Yeah.
Andor was some of the most compelling dialogue in
Now,
any
this
Disney,
is
especially Star Wars.
this is a thing. Rogue One and this Andor show goes against my nature because it's a prequel, and I generally don't like prequels. But what they've done here, I thought was really interesting. You love it or hate it, but I thought that movie was the best of
Sure.
the Disney Star Wars movies.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. Love it or hate it. I honestly though, I really did enjoy that first season. I thought
Yeah,
the acting was great. And
yeah,
and also it's one of those situations where the main lead actor didn't have to necessarily carry the show because he
right.
didn't have a lot of charisma. It wasn't but that
I mean, Juan
the
Solo is okay, but
yeah, it was fine. But I think overall the story was done well enough that
and I'm
you
happy
didn't
that
need
they
him to
got that
carry that.
actress back from the George Lucas prequels who looked just like Mon Mothma to play Mon Mothma. I thought that was
Yeah,
a
she looked
nice
great.
touch.
Yep. All
Yeah.
right, so let's take a look. Let's see here. I'm gonna try to there we go. All right, a little full screen.
I came with you to be part of something. The Empire cannot win.
Little Saw Gerrera there. The
Yeah,
Saw
yeah.
Gerrera. Like the Senate chambers or the Senate, and I always love this, Mon Mothma here.
It's a different
Yep.
kind of mission. If it goes up in flames, it will burn very brightly.
His character's so good.
He is.
If
So
I'm
yeah.
giving up everything, I want to win. We have to. We must stand together. We will be crushed.
Resistance is absurd.
So they bring back Ben Mendelsohn's character, which I find interesting.
Well, is he actually going to be in it, or is that cut scenes from
Oh,
somewhere else? Is
no,
this
It's a weapon.
he's coming
They're
back.
building
Okay.
a weapon.
That's him right there.
well? That looks like the scene from the movie.
come for us all.
It does look like from Rogue One, but I
Yeah.
believe he actually shows up.
Yeah.
Not a ton, maybe, but at
Well,
the end.
I think that'd be cool if he does for sure.
Oh, absolutely! I think it'd be fantastic.
Revolution is not for the same. You're right here, and you're ready to fight.
There's a future here for those who dare. Welcome to the rebellion.
I mean, this trailer is far better than the last one that they did because the music in that last one was
Yeah,
terrible.
yeah,
But this one
yeah.
was cut right. It was paced right. It's got everything you want to see in the show. So
Yeah,
let's bring it.
I agree with you. That last trailer was brutal because of the current music or whatever that was that they put
Yeah.
over the top of it. So and then Mid Joseph says, I will give the first season a try for the rebellion. So dude, here's the deal. And people like to use this. They say, and actually, before that comment, I guess we will get to that one. Is Andor is one you both recommend? So I'm going to tell you this, Menjoza. Okay, people like to use the word slow burn or the term slow burn. Okay, I don't even necessarily think it's just a slow burn. I think that there are characters in this show that are very good characters.
Yeah.
There are some things that maybe I'd say the first episode you kind of somewhat need to just kind of get around because it has a storyline Andor, Cassian Andor's looking for his sister, and it never ever really goes anywhere. It never
Yeah.
really does anything at all. As a matter of fact, it's part of the first episode's identity,
Yeah.
but
It
that
doesn't carry
storyline
through.
it just kind
Yeah.
of disappears. But what I'm saying is though is that I think the characters are strong enough. I think the dialogue is strong enough, and
When you
the
get to the Andy
Stellan
Serkis stuff,
Skarsgård is
oh yeah,
so good,
yep,
and
and
Andy Serkis is
Andy
so
Serkis,
good.
Andy
Yes,
Serkis killed it
yeah,
when he
I
comes on
agree.
screen, and that whole prison sequence or whatever
Oh
you want to call
yeah,
it. I mean
yep,
that whole
it's great.
couple episodes was really really good.
Yeah, so it's on my recommend. I think it
Yeah,
is really one of the few really good Disney Star Wars things that have been made, in my
yeah,
opinion.
and this goes back to like Terry Metallis's Star Trek Picard season 3, right? It got
Right.
to a point where Disney's like, I don't care. You want to make that, fine, go make that. We just don't care. And they let
Yep.
those people go do their thing with their budget. And the same thing with Star Trek Picard season 3, because Alex Kurtzman said, okay, this is not working. It's failed. They've given us another season. Here, Terry, you take it. And Terry loved Star Trek, so he made an incredible season 3, which you don't have to watch
Right.
season 1 and 2 to get to season 3. And then with this show, I think these showrunners appreciated the property so much, and I think that they understood George Lucas's Underworld property that Disney scrapped to a degree that this is the best we're going to get from that George
Right.
Lucas Underworld concept. And it's the side of the Star Wars universe that you can make a role playing game off of, that you can get invested in, that you can see all the stuff that's going on and get engaged with it. So it's a good recommend for me. And some people will say it's a slow burn. I was engaged the whole time, but
Yeah,
I
me
understand
too.
why some would say that it's a slow burn if you're used to watching action packed stuff and mostly being on your phone when watching stuff. Uh,
Now, I will say this as this, as far as the hero's actions. So I don't know, is Cassian Andor a hero? Hey, whatever.
no,
I don't know.
he's
Is that, your
he's
definition?
more of an anti-hero, right? I mean,
In a way.
he's a scoundrel. He is the
Yes.
scruffy nerf herder, right? I mean, he is all these things. And I mean, if you look at that first episode, if you remember that first episode, I believe he killed a dude to not get caught by the
So that's
stormtroopers.
what this comment is not necessarily about, but it also is about is
Yeah.
that there's a guard, there's police, local police, basically, and they're questioning him at the
Well,
very beginning of the show, the very
yeah.
beginning, first episode, very beginning, and yeah, he ends up, but the thing of it
Well,
is,
it was it. So it's not even just the stormtrooper. He didn't execute the storm. The guy he was with, right? He left him to die and get caught by the stormtroopers or die.
yeah,
So he wanted to make sure that he was dead because he could probably track him back, so he could get away and not be traced, right? Because
yeah, so
they want to set him up. He's not a good guy,
yeah,
right? And
right.
that's kind of the point, because the rebellion has to start with not good people. Saul Guerrera is not necessarily a good person. Even if you watch the original Clone Wars, he turned pretty quick. His sister was a
Oh
better
yeah,
person than he was.
right.
But he turned because of what happened to his sister, right? So
Well, and that first episode when he tries to get apprehended and then he accidentally kills a guy, and then you've got
yeah,
the other officer that's there, and he ends up shooting him because he's
yeah,
like, yeah, I can't leave any witnesses. But the
right.
thing is that obviously at that point, no, he's no hero. He's not
Mhm.
trying to be a hero. He doesn't want to be a
He's
hero.
trying
He's
to
not joining
survive.
up with him. He's just trying to survive. And
Yeah,
the show goes places that you think he's safe and in the clear, and then something happens, and then you think he's safe again. It's just it's very good, very well written. So it's worth your time. I
I
firmly
think
believe
so.
it's
Yeah,
worth your time. Um, and it is not the rebellion you grew up with, but the rebellion you grew up with was only pictured in one way,
yeah,
right? We only saw it in one way, and that was as always the good guys,
right. So you have to
to
think about
us.
in reality, how does a rebellion start? A rebellion starts with discontent. It starts with protest. You're anti-establishment, and then it leads to violence because you don't feel like you have any other choice, right?
Right.
I mean, this is the way revolutions and rebellions begin. And when you're committing violence, you're not the good guy. Okay, every time you commit,
Some may say even from a terrorist part
well,
of looking at things.
exactly. And if you look at some of the Middle Eastern fanatics, they took Star Wars as what that is, right? Oh, this is a game plan. This is how we manipulate the public to being on our side, and this is how we are terrorists.
Or
And we,
even just
but
even looking at the movies, the Empire's like, look, these guys, like we're the Roman Empire, right?
well, and we're
We
law
got
and
these little
order.
terrorists who were sitting here blowing stuff up,
Yep,
stealing our paycheck
that's
money,
right.
you know, ruining our supply lines, all
Yeah.
kinds of stuff like
So
that. Those are things you'd look at if
right.
you were the Empire, so to speak, as a terrorist actions.
From the Empire's point of view, they are law and order. They're bringing order to the galaxy. So they're imposing prosperity, right? Prosperity at a cost for governmental rule,
Right,
right?
right.
And so yeah, and so there's a lot of things you can pull out of that. But Star Wars was about a story about good and evil. Okay,
Yeah.
Andor and Rogue One fills in some of that gray area that's not as simplistic as the good versus evil, but it's done in a good way that
Yeah.
shows you how these people have to get there. They have to do the dirty jobs. They have to do these things to survive, to get into power so they can make changes, right? And so this is the way that they feel that they have to do it because it's ruled by an emperor, right?
Yes, sir.
It's not a presidential election. It's not somebody who's only going to be there for 8 years or 4 years or whatever, right? It's not this cycle of rotating leaders. It's somebody who's there for life, and when you're
Yeah.
trapped like that, you have to make decisions accordingly.
Yeah, I think it's like I said, I think it's definitely worth your time, and I
Yeah.
think there's certain things to debate within it or how it's portrayed, but I
Mm-hmm.
think the writing is extremely strong. I want to say hey to Bobby Wold says, "Wait,
What's
Star
up?
Wars is still around." I thought Kathleen Kennedy double tapped that franchise like a zombie. Well, she definitely tried. It is on life support, Bobby, and
This is their
there's
single heartbeat left.
that's right. There's
Bump, bump.
still a heartbeat. Uh, that's literally it's the heart of rock and roll.
Yeah, baby. It is the last vestige of life that is in Star Wars.
Right? It feels like
It's
it is to me anyway. This show at least is good enough to warrant, actually being considered like at least keeping the heartbeat alive, so to speak.
yeah. You saw Skeleton Crew, right? Did you see that?
Yeah, I liked Skeleton
You
Crew
like it?
okay.
Yeah.
It was fine.
And so
It's fine.
that's another thing. It's like, okay, this is the ice cold water that's still supplying life to this zombie, right?
Yeah,
We want to bring
sure.
Star Wars out of its coma, and so we have to support the things that are good, the
Right.
things that are, if they're mediocre, I don't know, and that's why I couldn't get into Skeleton Crew. I haven't dove
No,
down that path, but
I understand. I'd say, it
But
it
when you have the
is
Acolyte and Ahsoka and all these other things that are such trash,
yeah,
the
dude.
Obi-Wan Kenobi thing, I know Punk likes it. That one, that killed
Man,
it for me.
that show
It,
was
it
garbage, dude.
that killed all hope of Ewan McGregor actually
That show was
being Obi-Wan
garbage.
again. I'm gonna remember Ewan McGregor in the prequels as Obi-Wan, and I'm gonna remember the cartoon Rebels battle
Right.
between Obi-Wan and Darth
And
Maul
Maul, sure.
that's kind of, and then his story in A New Hope, and that's the end of Ben Kenobi. We don't need anything more.
Well, what
We're
about the
done.
video of him pulling over in his car and talking crap
And
to Star
lecturing.
Wars fans and lecturing
Look,
people
he's an actor.
about the Reva character?
He's an actor. He is unaware of the complexity of what's actually happening, and I really don't know how much of that stuff was real. versus this
don't
the stuff
know.
that's manufactured. I know there are a bunch of trolls and there are a bunch of assholes out there.
But
So
when you don't show people that, when you
yeah,
don't provide receipts,
here
then I'm
receipts.
sorry, you're
Yeah.
up for scrutiny. I'm sorry.
And
You are.
one of the what drives me
Sorry.
nuts is people throw up Kelly Marie Tran all the time too, and they've completely misconstrued. And
Oh my
Kelly Marie
God.
Tran has actually said, "No, this didn't happen."
You
Ahmed
mean
Best has actually come out and said, "This is not how it happened. It wasn't the fans; it was the media
you
who
mean
did
the
this to me."
trolls didn't drive Kelly Marie Tran? The racists and the phobes didn't drive Kelly Marie Tran off social
Nope.
media?
They sure did not. That is not the truth of the matter. That's not actually what happened. That's what people said happened. That's how they reported it,
That's what
but
the
that's not
media
what happened.
says. They
Yep.
still to this day
Yep.
report it that way. So when
Yep.
Joseph says, like, I get that, but why I can't watch Picard or STD, Star Trek Discovery? They changed the lore and
Look,
style
look,
is the same.
no. So I understand, Menjoza. I agree with you 100% on all that bullshit. Just watch season 3 of Picard. Okay, if you are a fan of Next Generation and you wanted a true ending to the stories in Next Generation, that's better than what they did in the movies, in my
Season
opinion.
3 Picard.
You watch season 3 of Picard.
Yeah, it's worth
Season
it.
3 of Picard is nothing like season 1 or 2. If you don't have to watch season 1 or 2 to know what's going on either.
I didn't.
Just watch season 3 of Picard, and
Yeah,
you
it's
will
worth
say this is the definitive end to the Next Generation storyline, and this works, and I'm happy with it, and it's worthwhile.
I just feel like you know when you know. It's you just when you see something and you know it's badass. You see somebody doing something and you know
Yeah.
it's talent. You hear somebody sing a song
Well,
or read lines from a script and
Yeah.
you know when you know and you know
That's
it's good and it works and there are certain things that happens and Picard season 3 is one of those things. It works. It's
Yeah.
good. It's fun. It makes sense.
Yes.
Um,
And if you look at Terry Matalas and you listen to his interviews, he loves Star Trek. He worked on Star Trek back in the 90s, early 2000s. So he's done stuff for Star Trek and he knows Star Trek. And that's why, he was such a fan of this. And I'm not going to say it was him, but somebody at Paramount leaked a lot of stuff about Star Trek Picard season 3 to some YouTubers out there
yeah.
who were in the know and got the word out about what was going on there. Go back to that last one. What was that last one?
You talking about War Chest here? With,
Yeah.
I didn't care much for Skeleton Crew. But I look at like the Ewok Adventure,
and you know
a little
what?
better, a little better than the Ewok Adventure. But I
don't know. Okay, maybe I should see it then because
Eh,
the Ewok. I love the Ewok Adventures.
that's some bad acting,
it's so
bro.
bad.
It's some bad
It's
shit.
so bad.
It is so bad.
But the adventure part of it, right?
You're letting your nostalgia and
Yes.
like childhood get in the way.
Yes,
and
I
can,
am.
I understand it, but man, like I've gone back and I've actually tried to watch it, and it's that bad. Like I couldn't
couple
finish
years,
it. I couldn't finish it.
Every couple years, we bring them back out. We watch it with my daughter, and my daughter loves it because it's Ewoks and it's Sindel, and you have this big adventure. And you've got this giant monster, and you've got these magic effects, and Wilford Brimley's in it. And
and he was probably like 30 years old, but he looks like he's 72 when he filmed it. Isn't that crazy? Literally, Wilford Brimley. It's like he when he did Cocoon, he was like what 40 years old.
No, he was
42.
He was 54.
Stop it.
He was
That's
54.
A lie.
He
looked like he was 75 years old.
Yeah. I mean, come on, guys. Yeah, how can you not love Star Cruiser Crash? You've got Warren Davis in the teddy bear costume going Star Cruiser Crash.
Do you have? And then all of a sudden it's like, do you have diabetes?
Diabetes.
Oh my goodness. Bobby Wool wants a Greedo backstory. I'm interested
Okay,
in that.
so there is a backstory for Greedo, and
No, oh
and
for sure.
and
It's
it has
not
been,
pleasant.
well, so it there are some short stories and books and comic books that have been done on Greedo's backstory, and they aren't that entertaining, but he is a bounty hunter and he's not very good at his job. I'll just say that.
And then he was ground up for food after Han Solo he was fed to all the dogs
He
around
was
Mos
Bantha Poodoo,
Eisley.
right? Bantha Poodoo.
Oh no. Mendoza says that lightsabers are what saves Star Wars. The public hears that ignition sound and they go crazy. They love it. I get it. I think
He
it's a little
Vadered. He Vadered.
Vader. I think it's a little cheap. I think it's a little cheap, but I fully understand it. And yes, there are a lot of people that's what they. It's
Hey,
like
you know
when they
what?
think of GI Joe, they think that everything that GI Joe is only about Snake Eyes.
Well, okay, so Mendoza, it's called Pavlov's dogs, right? Pavlov's response. You hear that lightsaber, you salivate, and you're like, "Oh, magic, Star Wars, space
Right.
wizards."
Right. That's what happened. War Chest
Why
wants a
do you
Neil
think that they used it?
Blomkamp
So,
Star Wars
so
trilogy.
when Disney Plus started and they had their Star Wars logo, why do you think that it was this lightsaber igniting sound effect, and then this short little as it went through the
Right.
different phases and the CGI faces of the helmets and everything, and then they
It
jumped into
sounds
it,
so good.
right?
Yeah, it's so awesome though. It's
And
unreal.
it's all because of that lightsaber sound.
Yeah, I'm with you. Neil
Neil
Blomkamp
Blomkamp.
needs a Star Wars trilogy. He's doing a he signed on to do Starship Troopers, but he's doing from the book, the source material.
Yes, I need
He
that
is.
power armor. I need that
That's what
power armor made into toys.
that's what he's doing. Hey, when you start talking power armor, you start getting me excited for Fallout now. You better
Forget Fallout. I want I
better
want I want
better
the Starship Troopers
calm your
power
tits.
armor.
I don't
It's some of
I
the
don't
best stuff.
know.
And then
Hey,
and then
I'm good with it. I'm just saying power armor and Fallout go hand in hand.
power armor and Warhammer go hand in hand. And the
Less
best
people
power
know
armor in the
about it.
world is Warhammer. But the second best is Starship Troopers.
Well, we'll have to see about that, buddy. No, he has signed on though to do I believe a Starship Troopers film with the source material and not like it's not a reboot or remake, so to speak, of the film by Anderson.
Yeah, Van Hoven. Yeah,
Or Verhoeven, rather. My bad.
yeah. But I mean that was satire, right? I mean
It was
satire,
totally satire. Of
and
course,
and it was great. I love it.
I agree. It's one of my favorite movies of all time. I've
Yeah.
loved that movie forever and
Now,
ever.
did
Amen.
you see the Roughnecks, the animated series?
No. And
That was
how would you
okay.
find it? I'd have to find it. It's
Yeah, well, I have them all. I could send them to
yeah,
you.
yeah. Yeah, Neil Blomkamp is great, says Mendoza.
And
Mendoza
then
also
what
says,
was
how
it?
about a story on Wedge and Lando? Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if it get enough traction.
Wedge Antilles would be a great story, and so would X-wing, the Red Squadron, right? You could
Um,
do a whole thing on that, but
yeah,
Rogue Squadron, sorry.
I'd like to see like a 501st kind of thing. Vader's personal army.
Well, so
From the
I
time before he was Vader to the time that he is Vader, and how many of those troopers actually knew he was one and the same.
so they did
You know,
that. It's called the
from
Clone Wars.
well, kind of, sorta, but not totally though.
I mean, yeah,
No,
because I mean, some of those guys got spun off in the Bad Batch, um, but
and they didn't really focus on any bias in the 501st.
but they did. They had entire episodes that were focused on five guys from the 501st and how they were individualized and stuff like that. So they've done several things
Yeah.
on the 501st, and Rex is the top of the 501st, right? And he's the best one out there.
So yeah, love some Captain Rex.
Yeah.
Um, you know, glad he wasn't in the 501st though.
He was in the 501st. It
and-
was as soon as they put the blue paint on, they were the 501st.
No, after
Yes. He was the
I-
501st. That's where the 501st started. Was in the
I'm
Clone
talking about.
Wars.
I'm talking about for him, like post Revenge of the Sith.
And he was still in the 501st then too, because he was there, and he eventually did leave the 501st with the end of the Clone Wars series.
Once
But he-
Anakin flipped, then
but
that's
when
when
he
he
was
escaped
Vader-
with Ahsoka.
No, he was
Yeah.
he was still there under Vader.
No, did you watch Clone Wars?
Yeah.
He was in the ship with Ahsoka, and remember she removes his chip, but she has the force, feels the force when Anakin strikes down Mace Windu, and he's trying to shoot Ahsoka, and his hands are shaking,
Yeah.
and then
Well,
she knocks him out, and she's able to take him with her, and he escapes from that point on.
Right. Yeah,
And-
but
and-
that's
and-
I mean, that was all 501st. So
Well, we'll just 501st our way over here to Joe Fan 84, who says, I got to go to bed, you skeezers. So, Joe Fan, get you some rest, buddy. Good to see you, my friend. And Bobby Wold's pissed that Zack Snyder didn't get his Star Wars trilogy, and he never will. I know he's not that upset, but anyway. So check this out. Here we go. Let's knock it out. I want to watch some funny videos.
Yeah,
and then
yeah,
we'll
let's check this out.
finish
Okay.
on the Popeye
I think
trailer.
we need to preface this with a Weird Al song. Dare to be stupid. Dare
Oh,
to be
boy.
stupid.
No kidding. So Snow White has opened up with a 44% score on Rotten Tomatoes. It has a 74% audience score. I don't know how. It has brought in 87 million its opening weekend globally, with just 43 domestically. So look at these. Okay, this is a list of the same opening weekend time period domestically of all these live action remakes of Disney.
Now,
And-
the Cinderella one was good. I actually liked Maleficent as well. Snow White and the Huntsman ages better.
Age is better, but if you look at this
Dumbo
list,
was garbage. So you know.
oh yeah, but if you look at this list, it is the second worst. The second worst, and Mufasa the Lion King was just recent. Just recent.
And people are trying to tell you how successful Mufasa the Lion King is because it had legs, and so people went to go see it. But it's still not successful.
Yes, no, absolutely. So it says there are very few ways to spin that. Snow White is close to the worst performing live action Disney adaptation ever, doing even half or a quarter as well as the higher up ones on the list. Now, I also wanted to share something else, and I have something to say about this because it's from a article in the Atlantic. Okay.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
The one
So
that
in
nobody
the-
will see.
In this article, and this is fascinating to me because they get it so wrong. Okay.
It's
So
the
I'm gonna
Atlantic.
I'm going to read this to you.
This is the Atlantic.
Yes, but judging by some of the online comments aimed at Rachel Zegler, the star of Disney's Snow White, the Seven Dwarfs, you'd think she had done something unforgivable.
Well-
Set Cinderella Castle on fire, perhaps.
Pretty
Or-
close.
Or told Mickey Mouse he couldn't wish upon a star. But
Almost.
Zegler had merely stated her opinion of the original film, that she finds it extremely dated, and that to her, the prince literally stalked Snow White.
And it's weird.
Her take on the protagonist, she said in interviews, would have more agency, which she believed would befit the expectations of a 21st century audience. Now, this is what's funny to me. Her remarks about the film have provoked furor across a wide swath of the internet. Ardent fans of the earlier Snow White, of which I'm sure there's, millions and millions, right? There's so many people that are like, oh, the original one is just amazing. Are there some? Sure. Is it a large, huge, massive group of people? I don't know. But it says apologies for the prince. The ardent fans are apologists for the prince, defenders of the dynamics behind fantasy love stories. And it says, perhaps less unexpectedly, extreme right-wingers have also taken issue with a character named Snow White being played by a Latina actress. Zegler is of Colombian descent. The reason I wanted to read that is because they get that all wrong.
She's Polish Colombian. She's not just Colombian. She's Polish Colombian.
Fine. Okay. The reason
so she's white. She's Hispanic adjacent, right? So she's white passing.
Yes. So she is just like Pedro Pascal.
Yeah.
The reason I wanted to bring that up is because they really truly get it all wrong. Okay?
Everything in that is so wrong.
Like they get it all wrong as far as the arguments, right? They say, oh, it's because she's white, or she's Latin or Colombian or whatever.
Now, I mean, if you remember, there were people railing against her for being in the Spielberg remake of whatever. Was it Grease? What was it? But I said, "You're Hispanic. How are you Hispanic? Your name is Zegler."
Right.
And so people were questioning her even then, and trying to prove that she wasn't Hispanic. And it's like, well, she's, Hispanic Polish, right? So,
So I have a compilation of all the stupid things she said. She was in West Side Story. It was one of Spielberg's worst
West Side Story. Yeah. Sorry,
West Side Story.
I keep saying Grease. I don't know why.
You're good. I like that one review where it said I rooted for the poison apple. I love that.
No, that review
okay.
was hilarious.
So let's take a look. Let's take a look at let's see here, because we've got more than a few. I'm gonna stretch this out here, folks, for a second.
She will be memed into oblivion with a weird comment because.
All right, how about this?
The original cartoon came out in 1937, and very evidently so. There's a
She's
big
totally
focus
drunk.
on her love story with a guy who literally stalks her. Yeah. Weird.
Yeah,
So we didn't do that this time.
I believe that she was drunk here.
Maybe. I don't care.
She's lubed up.
So no Prince or a different kind of Prince?
We have a different approach to what I'm sure a lot of people will assume is a love story, just because we cast a guy in the movie, right. Andrew Burnap, great dude. Yeah. It's one of those things that I think everyone's going to have their assumptions about what it's actually going to be, but it's really not about the love story at all, which is really, really wonderful. And whether or not she finds love along the way,
that's wonderful.
Which is what people actually want to go to see it is for the love story, but it's not really actually about a love story. And also, she talks about how it has a dude, great dude. It's the way she says things, the emphasis of certain words that she says that you can tell she's absolutely disgusted by something that she doesn't even understand. Yeah,
she's disgusted by the people who want I don't know what 95% of the people in the world want: a traditional love story, a relationship. Not to say they're affirming gender roles, but men and women have connections to one another,
they
and
like 95%
of the world wants to see that in some fashion come into play, and that's what this story kind of was about. It wasn't about female empowerment, but she was a strong woman.
One of those things that I think everyone's.
So listen to this part. I'll tell you. I'll tell you when we get to it.
Story just because we cast a guy in the movie, right. Andrew Burnap.
Everybody thinks it's a love story because we cast a guy in the movie, and then she gives the thumbs up to the guy he's not even a prince, he's a thief. But I love
he's
the
a potato
emphasis.
farmer.
Right.
Dude. It's one of those things that I think everyone's going to have their assumptions about what it's actually going to be, but it's really not about the love story at all, which is really, really wonderful. And whether or not she finds love along the way is anybody's guess until 2024. All of Andrew's scenes could get cut. Who knows? It's Hollywood, baby. But
I mean, how
love it.
Fucking
what a fucking shithead, right? I mean, your co-star in this movie, and you're still we might just cut his scenes. He's not really important to the story.
Seriously, it's like
I mean, I don't want to throw him under the bus because he's great. He's great, but we're gonna cut all the scenes.
So how about
fucking Hollywood?
Let's see. Come on. Let's see if I can get it to play.
One who hates when I
Oh,
win.
Okay, so how
One
about this video?
who hates when I
this is
win.
cringe.
The winged victory came to the Louvre in pieces, and people still line up to see her. And I can only hope that despite my flaws, and despite my cracks and my breaks, and there are many of them, that at every premiere and everything I do, people will wait in line to see. One who
So
hates when I win.
Do
So
you
that's
get it?
that
Crocodile tears.
Crocodile tears. Yeah. Right. So that is from the opening where she knows that this shit is going sideways, right? And
She's
and
got to
things,
play to sympathy. She's got to cry on
Yes.
camera.
I get stopped for
Okay, here's some more.
photos every time I'm
Now look,
online.
this is a
I
celebrity.
get stopped for photos every time I'm online for the Snow White ride, and I have to pretend like, oh God, well, crazy that we're in front of this.
Wait, how long?
It's like
So she's saying how horrible it is that she has to pose for photos in front of the Snow White ride if she's at Disney or whatever, right? And
Wait. You're pissed off that you have to be recognized and appreciated for the role that they paid you for.
I get stopped for photos
yes. So she gets stopped for photos.
every time I'm online for the Snow White ride, and I have to pretend like, oh God, well, crazy that we're in front of this.
Wait, how long?
It's like I'm standing there waiting for the photo op, being like,
What was that question?
Well, you kind of are, you know.
No, I guess
Like
so.
a
He was
Well,
asking
it got cut.
He
The
was
question
asking
got-
how old.
I don't. It
That's
got
kind of
cut.
a weird question that he
Well,
might have
it's
gone
Jimmy,
down as
It's Jimmy Kimmel. So
Well,
and-
you know, he's involved in some dark shit. But
all right. So let's see here.
Harrison Ford. Is that your favorite ride? I mean, that's a weird thing that you are Snow White now.
I mean,
Wow.
it's one of the original. I'm a really big Disney fan. I grew up at the Disney
Bullshit.
parks. My parents took me every
Right.
It's-
summer. Yeah, so
lied,
it's
sack of
Right.
part
shit.
of my upbringing. It's my favorite thing. So it's just one of those things that
Yeah,
comes
don't.
with the
Well,
territory.
then if you love it, don't let them scare you.
I was scared of the original cartoon. I think I watched it once and then I never picked it up again. Like I'm being
Such
so
a huge
serious. I
Disney
watched
fan.
it once and then I went on the ride in Disney World, which was called Snow White's Scary Adventures. Doesn't sound like something a little kid would like. Was terrified of it. Never revisited Snow White again.
Isn't
So-
that what they want you to do with feminists and like chicks like this, right? The girl bosses, they want you to be terrified of them.
wait. I thought she was an empowered female who didn't have to be afraed of these things.
she
But
doesn't
she's
need to be.
afraid. She's afraid of these things.
She doesn't need to be afraid. She doesn't need to be afraid at all.
I mean, she's super empowered, right? I mean, she doesn't need that.
Let's see here. It's like one after the
I
other.
never want it to come off as me being ungrateful for the opportunities I have.
Bullshit.
When I tell you that it's hard, I just mean to be inside my brain. And I'm there 24/7. I can't get out.
It's like there's 4 people inside there. Did you see that? That is psychotic. That is a psycho.
When I tell
Watch
you
this.
that it's hard, I just mean to be inside my brain. And I'm there
Like that is some scary shit, folks. I'm sorry, but that is some
Okay,
scary
yeah.
shit.
There-
Like,
there-
it's
there's-
so fucking weird.
Yeah, weird. I mean, she. Yeah. So
That's
I
weird, dude.
have a
That's
medical
so-
license, so I won't say anything further on that. But
Like that is nuts, bro. Like I'm sorry, but that shit is wacko. So
hopefully she's on the proper medication. I'm just saying.
and look, I'm not gonna play. She has a video where she, wishes a lot of harm on people that voted for Trump. during the
Yeah.
last election.
Yep.
I don't need to go into that or play that video.
So that was the only one that Disney actually censored her for.
Yes.
That was the one where they said,
Yes.
"Hey, you need to shut up right now."
Yes.
And they pulled her back, and they gave her a corporate apology that she issued. Did not state, did not change, did not make her own. She just reposted the one that they told her to say to put out there, which is disingenuous. So it's not her apology
Right.
whatsoever. It's the corporate apology. And then right before the premiere, she opened up her mouth again and started trashing people again. So I mean, she hasn't learned. She doesn't
also
understand where she is in the world.
during the writer's strikes, she also came out, was very vocal, and said, for every hour that I have to wear a princess dress, and not
She
even
should
on
be paid for.
camera, right? I should be paid for it. Just so out of touch. Now a lot of people say, "Hey, well, she's young." Well, the problem is there have been plenty of young actresses in Hollywood through the years. There have
Yep.
been plenty of people come up through the years. It's what your publicist is for. It's
Yep.
when these people who run these studios and these companies pull you aside and they say, you need to shut your fucking mouth.
Yep.
Somebody's chomping on a cigar
Yep.
that says you need to shut your mouth and go to the premiere. You need to smile at the cameras and not say a fucking word.
Yep.
Because if you continue to talk shit about the original film, if you talk shit about your male co-stars, if you talk shit about, you know what I mean? It's like they're going to banish you to Broadway and you're going to disappear for a few years. And everybody's going to forget all about you.
Yeah, no, and that's exactly what's going to happen.
Right.
She's gone. She needs to stay to Broadway. She needs to not be in cinema, not be on a press tour.
Right.
And she needs to go out and sing because apparently she can, even terrible songs that are about communism. But whatever, I mean, the whole new Snow White movie is about the evil queen is socialism in reality, and her view is communism in Fantasyland. So
yeah, no, and it's but that is a lot of the reason why there's plenty of people who have decided not to take their kids to this movie.
Yep.
When the film's star is telling you that it's weird. There's no love story.
Yep.
She's needs to be the leader she's
the leader,
supposed to be,
Yep.
and it's a girl boss story. Even the females are tired of these stories. They want love stories. They want men in traditional roles. They want women in traditional roles.
Do you know what some of the most normie of normie people have said? They go to see this movie and they watch it and they say, I would never take a child to see this movie because these dwarves are terrifying. Right. And that's one of the biggest comments is that these CGI abomination creatures that are in this are freaking nightmare fuel.
They are
And if you
pretty
take a
bad.
child to see it, they're going to be warped for that purpose. I'm like, well, okay, but I went and saw Aliens as a kid, so there's that. But whatever.
Well, I was gonna say it's all in because I watched Freddy Krueger and shit when I was a kid. I watched
Right.
a lot of stuff when I was a kid, and I don't know. It's not like I was totally just somehow messed up. You know what I mean? So I can't say that's the case, but I will say just from an entertainment perspective, yes, things are a lot different now. The messaging behind it, the insinuations behind it. Really quickly, Bobby Wolf says after that one they sent her out with a person who had vet everything she was writing and posting.
Yeah, so she had a social media consultant help her for a little while, but I think that she's thrown that person to the curb and is I don't know. I think Disney may put another lockdown on her after this opening weekend and say, okay, no more of you.
It's not
We're
going to
done.
matter. It's not going to matter, Matthew. This film is underperformed. It will not perform. It is going to be a huge disaster for them, and they're going to need. They're going to have to take some serious steps to go back to the drawing board. I mean, that's it.
No,
Says,
she doesn't. Yeah.
and see, Bobby brings up a good point here too about his daughter being 6 years old, saw the original Snow White. She was not terrified of it
Exactly.
because that's Rachel Zegler making stuff up to fit her narrative that she
Yeah.
wants to convey.
Yep.
Their people are not terrified their whole freaking life
Yeah.
because of an animated Disney movie.
Yeah,
I'm
no.
sorry.
Sorry,
Okay.
no, not
You're not
happening.
into your 20s and like, yeah, it still scares me. Like, come on. Like who are we kidding here? Right. And that's why when you guys were listening to the way she talks, when she emphasizes certain words, when she, it's like you can tell that she, in her brain, she's searching for the lie and to connect the stories together to
Yeah.
make them work for what she wants to portray to you. And that's just the way it is. And in that, along those lines of thinking, yes, no, she was not terrified. Now the ride, maybe she was afraid of the ride. I don't know. I can't say I've ridden the ride, so I'm not going to speak from experience.
The ride's
But-
not scary. The ride's
well,
not scary.
I'm assuming it's not. Like, let's
No.
not kid ourselves.
Yes.
It's like, it's like when Joe's talking about seeing American Werewolf in London, The Howling. Yeah, me too,
Yeah.
right? That shit was
That's right.
scary as a kid. That was the shit when you had to go
Love it.
downstairs to get the laundry and it was like kind of dark over in that corner. And you're like, you always had your eyes on that corner, right? You didn't walk over in that corner. You didn't walk in that corner. You didn't want to go in the garage, to get that
That's right.
thing or to flip that circuit breaker. You know what I mean? You're like, I don't know about that shit over there. So, yeah, that's scary, my friend. Speaking of scary, we're going to finish up on a high
So
note
do
here.
you remember what her movie was before this one? Before Cinderella?
Was it the not Mockingjay, but
No. Y2K.
Oh, Y2K. That's right.
The
Y2K.
horror Y2K movie that was made in modern times about what
Yes.
happened back then.
Yeah,
And
because
that one bombed to hell.
it's so funny because it's like I don't trust anyone
Yeah.
at this moment to make a movie about Y2K. However, years ago, I would have trusted someone to make a movie about Woodstock or something I was not, that my generation maybe was not at. It's like a newer generation. I wouldn't trust a younger filmmaker or a new filmmaker to make a movie about Y2K in this day and time.
Yeah.
But if my generation coming up, I probably would have trusted someone who probably could have done something about Woodstock or something that I was
Right.
not there for, if that
Yeah.
makes sense.
It's hard to
Hey.
write something about something that you didn't know, you didn't experience, but then try to get
Yes.
those, experiences interpreted and put onto paper to put onto the screen is a challenge, right?
So Mendoza has it right here,
Yep.
running from light to light, right?
Yeah.
Like,
That's
you're,
right.
but that's also like the, what's that freaking game? Oh my God.
I always think of Pitfall, but
No. It's the doctor, and you have the flashlight. You have a flashlight and you got a gun and you're a writer. You're a writer. Somebody's got to know this game, but you have to keep running into the light. If you get into the dark, man, this stuff will start coming out. Very well acclaimed game. I can't believe I forgot the name of it. It's terrible. Anyway, so oh wow, they need to take that Cocaine Bear movie and do Cocaine Ewok.
is a cocaine Ewok a Wookiee? I mean, does he get real big?
Dreadnought Alan Wake. Yeah, the cocaine Ewok, man, foaming at the mouth like Wicket or something, just like
Rabid Ewok.
And then he's got like Leia's arm in his mouth, and it's off her body, and he's just like going cuckoo crazy.
Okay, so you remember the Thundercats, right?
Yes, Thunder.
Yeah, the Thundercats ho. But they had the Burbots, right?
Yes. Yes.
They were actually terrifying to me as a kid when I thought about it for a second, because I thought they were
okay.
Ewoks that got sucked into that Superman
Yeah.
3 device and got slapped on with the cybernetic devices and then became these evil robots.
Man, that Superman device, it brings that chick into it and wraps her up. It's like, and it's, oh God, it's awful. Oh, it's just awful. That truly, as a kid, that was a horrific scene.
That was traumatizing.
Truly
traumatizing.
Scene.
And my wife said,
agree.
"Baby, we should watch Superman 3." And I go, "Our daughter's 9. Do you really want to watch Superman 3?"
You got to sit through a lot of crap to get to that part.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, but if my daughter sits there and watches that, she's going to have nightmares about it. I know, because I had nightmares about it.
Yeah. That scene is funky, dude. Like, I remember as a kid, man, you're right. I mean, it's just seeing that scene and she's trying to get in, it pulls her back in, right?
Yeah,
pulls her in.
It drops. Yeah.
Yeah, the wires wrap her.
Bobby, it was in theaters for like 2 weeks, as far as I know.
Yeah, well, not very long.
It dropped about the same time as Werewolves, and neither one of those lasted in theaters very long. But Werewolves was a good movie, and you should go watch Werewolves with Frank Grillo. It's worth a watch.
Speaking of Frank Grillo, he has nothing to do with this movie, but we're gonna watch this trailer. We're going to watch this trailer before we get out of here, folks. So let's check out Popeye the Slayer Man.
Yeah.
Right now.
What the hell is all this stuff for?
It's the equipment I checked out for my documentary.
Oh, is this that pirate man thing you were going on about in class?
Sailor Man. Tonight's the last night we can get inside.
They're, aware of the charming stories circulating about this place.
I don't believe in ghost stories.
He's not a ghost. The Sailor Man is real. He doesn't take kindly to visitors stopping on his doorstep.
If she's just doing some school project, then why won't she just pick the phone up?
Oh yeah? What should I do?
She said they're going to be at the old candy factory, right? Let's go down there.
Do you know where the factory closed down 20 years ago? There was a spinach contamination.
I am what I am.
I am what I am. I am what I am. Oh my God.
Oh, man, that I gotta see that. That's gotta be so much fun. I gotta say, the actor who plays Popeye in this is stacked. And the only thing that they modified really were his forearms and then the jawline, right? Wow. Everything else was really him. And
just great. So ridiculous. As these things get into the public domain, we're starting to see, more and more of them get used, like Winnie the Pooh, obviously, right? Popeye is another one. Who's the other one we got?
Well, so Mickey Mouse, Winnie the Pooh,
Mickey,
Popeye.
So Steamboat Willie.
So the Steamboat Massacre, I believe, is still in the process of being made or coming out soon. And so they're doing the whole Steamboat Willie Mouse Massacre thing. That should be interesting. And then, as of this year, the voice of Mickey Mouse became public domain. So now that they can use that high pitched squeakiness, and so they can throw that into the Steamboat Willie the Steamboat Massacre if they wanted to. But I love it. I love that these things are coming public domain and people are doing something different with it, and there's not a damn thing anybody can do about it.
So you imagine it's going to happen with a lot of characters, right?
Yeah.
After time, you imagine
Betty Boop and
Betty
Felix,
Boop, like Mid Joseph says, Felix. What about a Batman? What about a Superman? You think you'll ever see like a horror Batman or
we gotta wait another
Superman?
10 years, but yes.
Yeah, I believe so. I think you'll get the same thing. Something similar.
that original Superman and Batman design or character will become public domain in the in the 2030s, right?
Right.
So
Yeah.
we'll see it.
Yep. Yeah, Dave says when are we gonna get a Minions horror movie? It might have a
Well,
little
we're
ways to
100 years
go.
away from
Yeah,
that,
it might have a little ways to go. They also said that looks so damn terrible. I have to see it. Yeah, it looks really funny. If you have not seen the movie the FP, you need to see it. The FP. I don't know. That is new to me. The FP. I'll have to look it up.
the name sounds familiar. I've heard it before, but I don't
Yeah.
know anything about it.
And then Bobby Wold says they need to do one with Mighty Mouse, but to almost copy the Brightburn story. Yeah, I can see that. Brightburn was a cool concept. I wish they'd have maybe been able to tighten it up just a little bit as it went along for the little series, a few episodes that it was. But I like that concept, that's for sure. But well, Matthew, it's about that time of the night, man. What do you got coming up? Anything? Are you gonna be doing anything streaming wise this upcoming weekend? Do you have any obviously pictures you've got coming up or photography categories, or whatever?
Yeah, so we've got a heavy hitters coming out tomorrow. So it's GI Joe themed heavy hitters. So that'll be fun. I've just got some other posts coming up every day on my IG. I'm not streaming anytime soon. I've got a class I got to take this weekend.
Okay.
We're working on some other stuff for work and family stuff, but nope, I'm doing that. I'm excited about picking up these Conan comics this week or next week. Sorry, next week begins the release of the silent issues for GI Joe. So they've got like 6 issues coming out next month, I believe, that are GI Joe silent issues, along with the regular series and the Skybound series that are coming out. So those GI Joe comics and the Skybound series are pretty good. The Void Rivals has actually piqued my interest a little bit. It's
So
actually
we talked
started to get
about
interesting.
Void Rivals a long time ago, and I bought like the first 10 or 11, and you were like, it's just really slow. So I kind of bounced off of it.
Yeah,
I wish I hadn't. Maybe I don't
well,
know.
I don't know. I mean, it finally they started to make connections in this last issue, and it's starting to connect to everything. And I can see where it's going to a bigger storyline and stuff like that. And they've been setting it up, but the setup was so slow and I wasn't engaged with it. But now it's starting to connect to Transformers and GI Joe a lot more. And you have the Cobra Law faction is tracking down these Cybertronians.
Yep.
And so you've got this whole thing going on there. And so that's been interesting. The Skybound universe is interesting. The Hamaverse is continuing, and I've been entertained by it. Conan is still my favorite comic book that's coming out right now. The Savage Tales, and then the regular Conan book that's coming out on a regular basis from Titan Comics. That's been stellar. Solomon Kane comes out soon. I'm super excited about that one.
Okay.
So just reading some comic books, reading some books, reading some online stuff, and living life, having fun.
Well, I will be looking out for the GI Joe silent issues like Jinx #1. You've got
Roadblock and Beachhead.
Beachhead. You've got Spirit Iron Knife. So those look pretty cool. You got another Duke, and silent issues, and then you have GI Joe 21. But yeah, April 2nd. Yeah, reissue. We're going to be looking at April 2nd is actually when this all begins, and then the 9th, and then subsequent every week.
Yeah.
For these others. But anyway, so super cool, man. Well, look, I don't have a lot going on. Friday night, I guess, a stream. I'll see. My son's coming over. So we'll see how that goes. Friday night, if I decide to do an unfiltered, and sometimes looking at the news every now and then, you try to kind of force one in there, may or may not be any interesting stories, but we got a little lucky last week, but we'll see. Other than that, man, I don't really have a whole lot going on. I would recommend to you guys tomorrow night, my cousin Three Star Draw will be doing his Backyard Battlefield with Krusty Old Crow. And they've turned that into a good show. Just the two of them. I like it. I like what they're doing. So if you guys get a chance, tune into that. I know many of you will, for sure, man. And I appreciate everybody sliding in here and hanging out with us for a couple hours or so, man. We're gonna get out of here. But y'all have a fantastic night. And until then, for Matthew, I'm Pop Blender, man. Thanks a bunch, y'all. Take it easy.